Hailing frequencies are open. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Clear Skies, our Star Trek Adventures live play here with the Stream Punks. You will notice that there is a gap of ancient black space filled with a night sky of stars. For those of you who might be confused, that is in fact Gina.
Right.
Gina usually, it takes her a second to evolve into a humanoid form before she is actually able to coalesce and play with us. Sam has been telling us all for years since Doctor Who that this is Gina, and we didn't believe them, and here we are. And now we
Believe
feel really
MBs.
safe. Yes, we believe MBs. Hashtag believe MBs. Before we kick off tonight and go into group announcements, first of all, a big shout out to the Aux crew for another month of support on our Patreon. We have some announcements tonight that we're going to go ahead and get out of the way for supporting the Stream Punks, and we are finally, get this, here we are, heading into April, we are finally able to lock down my God, and she just manifested. Just out of the stars, it just appeared. I told you it was going to happen. We watched magic. You saw it here. It was no special effects. She manifested. I'm just saying. So what we're going to say is that we finally have our schedules for some fulfillment. So the big news that we have for everybody tonight, and I'll be talking a little bit more on our fan Discord, Stream Punks Discord, about this, because I'm sure there's going to be some questions, but we are going to be taking some time off from the main campaign of Clear Skies after tonight's episode. And of course, next week we have Blood of the Void. What will be coming after that on April 5th is our Mirror Universe episode for Clear Skies. We're going into the darkness, my friends. After all this time, we will be going into the Mirror Universe to see what Mirror Universe USS Ross looks like. So we will be doing that on April 5th. Then on April 12th, our one amazing science officer, Jane Lecat, aka Ravity Domse, will be running her 10 Candles Bachelorette game. That'll be April 12th, that Monday. The following Monday, Gina is going to be making stuff. I believe Gina's going to be crafting stuff. There will be a crafting corner, and Gina will be doing that. And I don't know what the format of that looks like, but I might be just sitting there doing commentary and being like, wow, Gina knows how to craft stuff. Hey,
yeah. I think it's going to be a double DeVivo episode.
Oh.
So I think you're going to get crafting.
Two. Yes, double your DeVivos, y'all. That's on the 19th. And then on May 3rd, Bonnie, also, just like Rave, sitting in the GM's chair for the first time, doing your thing. Bonnie has got a game that she can announce whenever she chooses. But Bonnie will be running. Do it now.
It's going to be Lasers and Feelings. And we're going to Wonderland.
I'm sure that's not going to be messed up.
Oh, it's going to be messed up. That's why I chose it. I was like, I could go anywhere. I'm going to be mad with all of you.
Sweet. So Alice in Wonderland style Lasers and Feelings with Bonnie. That's going to be on May 3rd. And then bringing us into May 10th. It's time for the return of the Time Kids, y'all. We will be doing our Time Crew, Time Travelers on May 10th. We will be going back and visiting to see what they've been up to since they joined the Time Agency, especially now because, Discovery spoilers, there's been some reveals about time travel and Discovery and where that ended up going now that they threw themselves 900 years into the future. What implications will that have on our Time Kids, if it has any? We shall see. So that is going to be going into April and May. And then we will have some more announcements about Clear Skies coming up after that. But this is giving us an opportunity to get done all that incredible fulfillment. And as a big thank you to everybody who helped us raise money back in this last summer that we were able to use to basically build the Stream Punks LLC and incorporate and just do all the cool stuff that we've been doing. There's a lot more to come. Thank you so damn much for your support and everything. Stay tuned for more information on that. Now, last thing I have to say, happy birthday, William Shatner. He turned 90 today. And while the man may have a dubious reputation for being somewhat ornery to people, we can say that his contributions to one of our all-time most legendary Star Trek characters, happy 90 years. Happy 90 years, Captain. Or Admiral, or depending on wherever you are in the movies. All right. Sam hasn't seen all the movies, so we can't give spoilers. All right, so.
He's an admiral in the first one.
He's never on the first one. ... All right, so who else has any other announcements before we jump into our game? Yes, Xander.
Yay! So they will be announcing something, I'm sure, on social media soon. But this Thursday, as part of the GaryCon celebrations, I'm going to be in the Dungeon Master seat, and Bonnie's going to be part of my cast, along with some amazing other gamers. But that'll be bright and early, 10 a.m. Pacific time on Thursday, on one of the GaryCon Twitch channels. I don't know which one yet, but keep an eye on my socials.
Guess what roommate is going to go get coffee before the game?
It's still me.
It will be you. It will be the morning person in this household.
Piggybacking off of that real quick, Xander, a quick shout out and thank you to everyone who was showing up and watching the Search for Gaxmore that JCM ran for us.
Yay.
We had such a positive turnout that it is now becoming a show that we're going to be doing on Saturdays now. So I am now part of a cast for the first time.
Congratulations!
Ever. Thank you. I get to be a player in a D&D game. This is the first time I've ever been a part of a cast where I'm a player. So thank you for everyone who turned in and who shouted at Luke Gygax to keep us going and that liked the show. I appreciate it. I love Leaf. I get to play my orc monk a little bit more. Okay, so Xander, anybody else have any announcements? Any games that they're playing or anything that they want to announce? Anything at Pixel Circus? Anything? Yes, Sam.
I mean, we can talk about Pixel Circus stuff. It's fine.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk about.
We have Pixel Circus stuff. Gina, do we have
Is your announcement the final announcement?
Not just that. I also do things. Tomorrow I will be doing Spy Hunter things for Roll20's Indie Showcase. That's tomorrow, Tuesday, from 3 to 5 p.m. PT, twitch.tv/roll2020 app. We'll be playing Spy Hunter. So yeah, 2 hands. There you go. We
Bonnie,
stay on brand. I might have more announcements, though. I won't commit to being done yet. There,
Okay.
Now say Pixel Circus
We're
things.
bookmarking Sam. I don't know what happened.
Gina.
But whatever. But we got the 1 second and like goblin face from Gina, which means
People ask the
happened.
difference between a good stealth check and a great stealth check. Like, what is that 34 even worth? I give you your answer. Right there.
Happening.
That's what it
I'm
looks
just kind of
like.
stealing the show right now, though. I'll say
What's new?
Again, welcome back. Are you sticking around? Are you okay? Are you all good? Did you spill something on the keyboard? What happened?
Space fell on me.
Oh God!
No.
Space fell on top. I told you. It was trying to reclaim you.
It tried to swallow me whole.
It's a stable wormhole.
It's a giant. It's a familiar. Hey, I mean, this isn't the first time you've been in space and something large just swallowed you. And
This is true.
it's true. Oh, space whales. We love you, space whale. Giant space whale. Bonnie, did you have anything before we?
Yeah, it's more of an unannouncement. So this upcoming Wednesday, I was supposed to start streaming on my own Twitch channel for my birthday as an old lady, as Mrs. Claus. I'm going to have to postpone a few weeks because I figured once I start streaming, I want to actually be consistent with my schedule of streaming every Wednesday. And other like jobs and gigs have popped up, which is a good thing. Being busy has popped up on the following like Wednesdays, and I was like, that's not cool just to start and then be like, yeah, psych, I'm not streaming yet. So I'm gonna postpone for a few weeks just so that way I can, once I start streaming, I can actually consistently do it every week for y'all. But Mrs. Claus is ready. I got my new lighting. I got my screens. I got like a whole setup now, and Mrs. Claus's wig is being dusted off and.
So you heard it here, everybody. On my channel on Whimsday, we call it Whimsday at the League of Whimsy. We're going to celebrate Bonnie's birthday.
Oh,
so we will do.
Well, it's not my birthday on Wednesday. I was just gonna start Wednesday
on your
my birthday week because my birthday's Saturday and I didn't want to stream on a Saturday.
Yeah, so we're gonna celebrate.
No. I know. I understand birthday rules. These happened to me. Wednesday's going to be your birthday, and then also more.
Friday and also Thursday.
Okay, I will take all of these things. It's a quarantine birthday again.
All right. I think that brings us to Sam, who I believe had the bookmark.
Thank you. I have the bookmark.
You have the conch right now.
I'm excited.
I promise I will not drop any more Lord of the Flies references in Clear Skies tonight. Sam was excited, by the way.
Oh, did you? Are you sure?
I
Because I could go again. Like,
do it again.
If you didn't think that was pick up. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Pick up.
Nope, you don't get another one. Too bad. If you don't
All right,
know about my Excite by now, that really sucks for you, Eric. You should have known me better.
Let's go ahead and jump into tonight's episode of Clear Skies. Welcome back. We were recounting the time that Bonnie tried to say spread our wings and stretch our legs and combine them by accident, and you can figure out the math on that. It was pretty hilarious. Let's go ahead and jump in to tonight's episode of Clear Skies. When we last left off, a lot of stuff had happened all at once, and it was a bit of a hard, I would say, a sharp left turn at Albuquerque. As Bugs Bunny might say. Essentially what ended up it's an old cultural reference. I'm dating myself right now. If the gray hair hasn't given it away yet. Essentially what Gina's like, yes. Essentially what happened in the last episode is a hostage rescue mission, which was uncovered after investigating the effects that were being forced upon the community at this colony, specifically because their environmental systems had gone down, revealing this arms dealer that was trying to get their hands on a bunch of dud Polaron torpedoes, remnants of the Dominion War. Unveiled a villain that was trying to get their hands on this, but also unveiled a rather unexpected environmental disaster that led to members of the USS Ross now being out of reach of their mothership and currently completely out of contact. You guys have fallen down the rabbit hole, as it were. Lacat and Exio and Olin, who, by the way, Aki will be with us again when we return, is taking the night off. Our crew members, along with the people that they had rescued, including your chief of security, have all fallen down this hole after one of the warheads detonated and caused the upper part of the crust of where you guys were standing to shatter. A fall that was estimated around a little over 1,000 feet, which should have been the end of everybody and then some, especially because of the falling rubble. You instead soft landed on the rubble, only to discover gravitational anomalies and yourselves inside of a giant underground ecosystem filled with spores and this entire ecosystem that is existing under the surface of the planet. And what I love about this is I completely forgot that Xander actually wasn't here last game and is hearing all this for the first time, and watching the wonder on his face is making this really exciting for me.
I was like, okay, I got this in my notes. Yeah, that tracks. I'm sorry, what? Underground ecosystem. Oh.
Yeah. So essentially what ended up happening is one of the warheads that they were trying to extract during the prisoner exchange, the arms dealer, Knighton, in a panic, supposedly for whatever possessed him to do this, decided to try to beam the torpedo off world. Now, that's a risky thing to do when it was in its current state, because they apparently had tried to extract the first torpedo, which is what caused the explosion, and set off a chain reaction which destroyed the environmental control center, which led to the environmental crisis and colonists getting sick because of this is a type K planet, and it has spores in the atmosphere that are dangerous for those who are not in the vicinity of the environmental control systems. Flash forward to the prisoner exchange, where they were handing back the son of the colony leader in exchange to get the tech. They specifically wanted the warhead and the technology of this Polaron torpedo. Things were going not bad. Olin was doing a hell of a job. I mean, Olin had basically facilitated the exchange and had done their job and was taking care of business. Things got a little dicey when Exio decided to sneak up a little bit closer, but essentially everything kind of happened all at once. Long story short,
I was at a different bomb site, to be clear. I wasn't
totally
just
different bomb
messing
site.
up a hostage situation.
No, you were at a totally different bomb site, and it should be noted that Exio, hold on, Exio wanted to. Sorry, my computer's like, we're going to restart Windows now. How about no? There we go. Anyway, so Exio managed to actually take care of the arms dealers that were trying to extract the torpedo at the second site. Because as it turns out, the captain was able to predict, using their extensive experience in espionage and tactics and strategy, to be able to devise that this arms dealer was not a fool and was playing a game here. He did not for one second think that he was going to get the torpedo that he was expecting to get at the hostage exchange site. The hostage exchange site was kind of a distraction, and the people being sent there probably didn't realize they were sacrificial lambs if Starfleet wanted to arrest them. His real goal was to get to the second torpedo site and try to extract it himself. Exio stopped that from happening, and now there are pirates in the brig. Exio, upon returning to the first torpedo site, it caused a panic or reaction for whatever reason. Captain Knighton in his Corvette, which, by the way, that Corvette, that Cardassian Corvette cruiser, it's a Corvette, not a cruiser, but it's that transport ship that he is piloting right now, made a run for it and tried to beam up that torpedo. Did not go well. Not only two things happened all at once. The Ross chased down the ship, and as the Ross was closing in, the ship activated a Polaron hull skin, which allowed it to escape any tractor beam, any attempt at a tractor beam, which is Ross's favorite ace up the sleeve. So the Ross had to pull out literally the big guns and shot, doing multiple hull breaches right through the engine of this small vessel. And in one hit, the Ross disabled it, and the vessel sent out an SOS. The Ross now has Knighton and crew going into custody as we speak. Unfortunately, while all of this is happening, the results in explosion that took place on the planet, the Ross is not able to scan beyond the surface. No one knows what happened. From all intents and purposes, from overhead, where everyone was is now a giant hole in the planet's surface. There's no sign of them. Life signs are not negative, but the Ross is not capable of currently scanning inside this environment that they have fallen into. So the Ross has no idea what is inside this. And while this was happening on the bridge, if you remember, we had a terrible, heartbreaking moment where Asmi Shanto, who was watching all of this happen, kinda had a mild, stood up from her chair and stared at the view screen in horror as the away team basically vanished. So that is the basic recap for our chief engineer. So this is what's been going on.
In my defense, I tried to recap for him. I'm just really bad at it.
Don't
I was like, rocks and holes.
That is also worth noting that McCrell, during this whole thing, McCrell has been working on a cure and is still, by the way, in the middle of your extended task. But holy hell is it going well. McCrell has been acing the extended task and dominating
Don't jinx it, Eric.
Yeah, I know. You're smashing down the work track. You've literally got the magnitude down to 2 when we last left off. So you have been kicking ass. You and your assistant have been the other doctor have been totally doing this. The doctor's name, by the way, Stephen Yen, has been letting you take the lead on this. And McCrell is oblivious to what's happened. Meanwhile,
just
down
like
below the surface of the planet, the crew has soft landed in this cavern that's showing all of this life. And the cavern itself, they have not investigated yet. But Lacat was able to get a tricorder working again, if you remember. Was able to jury-rig the tricorder's power source and get it to work, and got a basic scan off of where they were and what was going on. Detected some gravitational anomalies, but more fascinatingly enough, detected that some of the spore life down here, some of the plant life and the fungi, are genetic matches to the plant life that was found on a certain planet back in the Shackleton Expanse, where you guys took the crystalline entity to grow up and to its nursery, essentially, which caused Lacat to completely kind of freak out a little bit because it's an exciting scientific discovery. And that is where we left off. Right now, above the skies of this alien world, the USS Ross currently is pulled alongside Knighton's vessel. And to expedite what inevitably was coming down the pipe, Knighton and his crew of 14 arms dealers are currently in the brig of the USS Ross. So let me give you some statistics real quick. So Knighton's ship is called the Gaviz. It's Gavizz. It is a Hideki class corvette. It is Cardassian made. It's not particularly an unusual vessel to see. I mean, the Cardassians, in truth, they don't sell their ships to outside people, but since the war came to an end, people need money. And it's not like the military was like most of these have kind of gone unclaimed or gone missing. So it's not an unusual. I mean, Captain, you can already kind of connect the dots. It's a civilian class freighter that was sometimes militarized, but it's probably safe to say did not acquire this through legal means. So, Knighton is currently in the brig. Let's go ahead and start that scene off because I know you've been hungering for this scene, Captain. So,
well, it's either talk to him and have a vessel for my misplaced anger and anxiety, or contemplate that my crew is in a hole. I'd like the misplaced anger, please.
Walking into the brig, the security officer stands at attention as you move into the main area. Moving past a few of the force fields where you see a couple of Orions that are watching you. They don't seem to recognize, they're just watching you as you walk in. Maybe one or two of them kind of has a reaction when they see an Orion in a Starfleet uniform walk through the doorway. But you do see the Lethian is in here, seated on one of the beds. Azari Sol would definitely know Lethians for their time undercover in the Orion Syndicate. Lethians are lethal assassins and use a very peculiar, very unique type of telepathy to kill their targets. They're highly dangerous. It's not unusual to see one amongst unscrupulous people. He's probably an officer on board the ship. Maybe important to Knighton, maybe not. It's hard to say. Knighton, as you remember, is a Zabalian. He is currently seated on the bed in the very back of his brig, dressed in finery, dressed in like deep purple fold-over tunic with gold trim and leather breeches and boots. would be, a very fine-looking, like, well-dressed civilian. When he looks up and he sees you approaching, he immediately assumes a countenance of pleasantness and just goes, "Ha! I was wondering when I could be looking forward to the gloating, or the interrogation, or both."
We can certainly expedite things if we do both at once. Perhaps you'd like to accompany me to an interrogation room and we can get this party started.
Ooh.
I feel like this isn't your first.
No. There was one time. This one time I was captured by the Gorn. That's interesting. The Gorn actually don't ask a lot of questions, as it turns out. They kind of don't care why.
I gesture for the door.
The security officer steps into the room and takes him by the arm. He continues talking as he's being escorted out. He says, "You'd be surprised. Gorn, very basic laws. You think Klingons are simple, but Gorn, very, very simple people. They just kill you. And he gets led out. The interrogation room is actually quite simple, and it is comfortable. It is a single chair. Think of the, let me put it this way. If you remember that episode of TNG where they were, it was the episode where I don't remember the name of the episode, but essentially the trial room. Where there's essentially like tables spread out in front, a small platform, and a single chair that sits on the platform. Security officers are in here. Knighton is led to that single chair and sat down. You have, you are, Captain, it's just an acute awareness, and I'll let you do with it as you please, but when you see the security officers in here, you cannot help but note the absence of Commander Yeri Prawl. This is where he would be right now, and this is where he would probably pull a Prawl. But you find yourself standing in here as the one command officer from the bridge that is not currently missing. Knighton situates himself in the chair and says,
Well, you've done this before. I've done this before. I've done it often enough that Starfleet legal know me. My word goes a long way. So you give me information of value. We see what discretion is offered. So start talking and let's see where things go, shall we?
I think I could do with a better offer than that. You're Starfleet. You don't have to say, "Give me what I want and I'll be nice." You're going to be nice either way. I mean, that's really the disadvantage of being Starfleet, isn't it? If you were a Gorn, I'd be talking right now. But despite the fact that you are Orion, I do notice that you have a nice little communicator badge with that chevron on it, marking you as Starfleet, and 4 pips. Well done.
What made you think that you want to play to my virtues?
Okay. he says, "So what is my offer on the table then, aside from maybe a reduced sentence?"
You played a bad hand well.
Thank
Right?
you.
You didn't do anything wrong. You just got a little unlucky about the ship that was moving by on our own business and could turn yours to slag. It happens to the best, and, well, I don't know where you are on that ranking, but it wasn't anything to be ashamed of. But we're here now, and you don't have a lot of leverage. This is the deal because that's what you've got, unless I'm wrong and there's something you know. May I roll?
No. Yes, go ahead.
All right. I just want to start sending the tone. Well,
Yeah. Let's see. That's going to be your presence command versus, I'm going to say, his control command.
That seems very reasonable as a defense check. Yeah, I like that. Let's feel out where we're starting out, because he's also quite good.
Okay. What'd you get?
Oh, okay. That isn't bad. 4.
Okay. That isn't bad. You beat him by 2.
Well,
okay.
we tied last time on the intimidation check, so I don't take it for granted.
Although, to be fair, that intimidation check, it did cost him. And on this case, I'm even going to say that the previous intimidation check is kind of informing his attitude towards you. So when you basically lay that down to him, he just goes, that is all true. Yes. I have to admit, that is all true. Bad hand. Bad hand. Bad hand. All right. So maybe just a reduced sentence then? Not asking too much.
If you have something of value, then I might find myself well disposed when talking about, what's the term they use, prosecutorial discretion?
Yes. A term that I've heard many times, but I haven't bothered studying Starfleet law. I just heard
You're going to have to.
Well, I tell you what, I can give you some names if you save. He stops for a second, and it's a bit of a shift suddenly, Captain, but you see him just stop, and he just goes, sorry, I don't know any names. I don't know why I said that. Reduced sentence will be fine.
Value given for value received.
I need you to get that third torpedo off the planet, please.
Now, why is that?
I don't. I don't know. Keep the torpedo. I don't need it. I don't need it. Do whatever you want with it. Blow it up too. Please don't blow it up. I'm gonna need a second. And he stops and just goes. I have names that I don't have names that I can give you. I just want the reduced sentence, Captain. And I will do whatever it takes to save to do what is necessary to save to
Who do they have of yours?
I don't know what nobody has anybody of mine. I mean, you have my people in your brig, but I don't give it to them. You're just I don't have to pay them now.
Exactly. So
but you're hurting us. You are hurting my feelings, Captain, and frankly, I would appreciate it if you would just tell me what you want to know, and I can tell you, and we can do the reduced sentence thing and be done with this already.
I'd like to take my insight check now.
Okay. Go ahead and roll insight plus command.
I'm going to spend one of those 2 momentum for cautious. I feel my sense motive go into this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Hurting us.
Tell me what you get. It's a contested
That's
roll.
another 4.
No, okay, you beat him. Again. Captain, I don't have to tell you he's acting weird because you just saw it. He is having some kind of conflict that it's kind of difficult to tell. But it would seem like to you, it doesn't seem like he's tripping over his own words to you. It doesn't read like he's accidentally saying it. There's nothing about him, Captain, that strikes you as, to even talking to him now, you were certain that Knight and Josh is actually quite clever and a worthy opponent, not someone who just kind of blunders through his words and reveals stuff by accident. Something else is going on here. And if you want to spend for an information spend, there is a 1 point cost
Yes, you said that I beat him by how much?
You beat him by 2. So you should
Okay,
have
that'll
4
bring us up to
for
momentum 3 because I spent 1 for
Oh,
cautious
right.
to get
That's right.
the third die.
Right.
So yes, I'll spend 1 of those, bring us down to 2, and get 2 questions because studious.
So, Captain, it takes you a second to remember what it is you're looking at. But for a second, you're studying his face, your eyes narrow as you notice something very subtle that you didn't see before. The outer ring of his eyes has an iridescent blue glow to it. It looks very similar to a side effect of being infected by the spores on the planet below.
And he was in all likelihood part of the operation on the first torpedo, the one that blew up, and in all possibility, he didn't bring personal protective equipment.
They probably didn't know what they were getting into when they were trying to extract that first torpedo.
Leaving a potential vector for infection that, because it seems to have a neuropresentation, could conceivably account for the us that's getting hurt. Yes, you have a face. Yeah. So with my question, what can I get off of the persona that seemed to break through in those moments? Like, like as an agency with wants and personality-ness. If I want to make a deal there.
Yeah, if you're trying to profile what you're seeing right now,
Yeah.
you get the impression he's having impulse control problems. Like it's almost like he's being given a desire that he doesn't want. Let me put it this way. You're not getting the impression he's possessed or anything. But he is acting strange, for sure. And it seems like his contradicting of himself is in conflict every moment. It seems like he wants something that he says, no, I don't want that. And then he's like, but please give me this, but I don't want that, so don't give me that. It seems like he's kind of fighting his impulses. Like he's in conflict with himself, in a constant contradictive state. Maybe it's more of an influence that's happening, but it seems like it's a little bit more, there's a little more control than, like, say, if you were under the impression that something was puppeting him.
I stand up. Well, I can only get you a reduced sentence with any kind of information, so I should give you some time to think about what information you can give me. In the meantime, we'll get you something to drink and something to eat. And
no, please, I don't have that kind of time. The torpedoes have to go. Or they could stay and you could sell them yourself. What? Not that you would do that, because you're a Starfleet captain. Do whatever you want with them. But if you could please find a way to get them off world, or away, or just gone somehow, I could do it, and you could put me on my ship. And
I'll take it under advisement. I'm going to walk out.
Okay.
And I'm going to say to the security officer, get those tapes to Dr. McCrell. I want her...
Oh, the recording
of the interrogation.
Oh, okay.
I want her medical opinion on what she's seeing.
Hi, Captain.
And a status report on whatever's going on with her down there.
Hi, Captain.
And I want a report on my crew in a hole!
Everyone in the corridor hears you shout that. and it might be the first time that they've heard Azuri Sol raise their voice in fury. An angry captain, and it causes a few of the Ox crew to pause and look down the hall, and they will remember the day that they heard Azuri pissed.
I feel like this is a good moment to cut to engineering because that's exactly what Tech and Sing have been working on. We're working on developing a probe that we can send down, and we're working on the coordinates so that we can aim it directly into where the sinkhole is.
If I remember correctly, you also have a certain Andorian engineer with you guys in that hole as well.
She's down there, yeah.
Yeah. So, so that's an asset too.
I don't remember which engineer, but we have 2 engineers along with.
Dari's with you.
No,
and
Dari's with the cat. Or sorry, Macrell.
I thought Dari left Macrell to join y'all. I'm completely remembering this
for
incorrectly.
the defuse. Yeah, Dari was on diffusing.
Yeah.
Oh, was
Dari,
she?
Yeah, she came over to help you guys.
She was in Site 1.
Got it.
Yeah.
Misunderstood.
Yeah.
Misunderstood.
But you were right, because she got site to site transported over there when shit was going down. Okay,
Right.
so
But I've been keeping a close eye on her. Yes,
Right.
very close eye.
Oh man, yes. And news probably hasn't gotten back to Tech yet that Dari was in that hole, because I suspect that you're just assuming that Dari is still in the medical facility with Macrell. Singh looks up to you for a moment as he's looking over some of this the probe schematics and says, "The problem is, Chief, is we don't know the exact nature of the disturbance. So we might need... This would be so much easier with Lieutenant Lacat."
Well, unfortunately, she might be down there.
Okay.
Listen, is there a way that we could maybe send the probe down part way, and if it encounters anything dangerous, to just send every bit of information back?
We should use 2 probes, yes. Let's send one probe down partial way like you suggested. We'll scan where the interference is coming from. Maybe we can get enough of a weak signal back to the Ross, and from there, we can make a new probe based off of that information.
And this is where your specialty comes in, because we could attach beam enhancements down there. If we can send enough probes, we could maybe establish a signal for an emergency beam out.
Do you want to tell the captain?
Chief Tech to Captain Saul.
Go for Saul.
I think we may have a plan moving forward. We've got a couple of probes that we're going to send down there, and maybe an enhanced beam protector.
You know, you said those words at just the right time. I'm so happy to hear proceed at once.
Aye, Captain. And then
I smile at the ones who heard the,
Yeah.
voice.
Tech just looks over at Sing and is like, did that sound weird? No? Oh.
They sounded very angry.
That's weird.
Very weird. And he glances down and just focuses back on his work. Almost like that's driving him to I'm going to go back to really focusing on what we've got to do here. All right. So why don't we do this? Before we cut away from main engineering and get back down into the hole in the planet, let's go ahead and have you make a roll here. And I don't want to go into the complexity. I usually try to keep it one extended task a session because they can get kind of cumbersome. So let's go ahead and just turn this into a role that you can spend momentum for to reduce how much time it's going to take. To start, I'm going to say to build one single probe, to modify a probe, is going to be, I'm going to say that's going to take a standard of 1 hour.
Okay.
If you can spend momentum to cut 10 minutes off of that time, if you want to do it faster.
Do I make a roll though?
Yeah, base roll, and then any momentum you generate can go into that to shaving off the time. Yeah.
Okay.
And you're going to get an assist from Chief Singh.
Great. So what is the difficulty and the
let's see. Difficulty for this is going to be 3.
3. And is it control engineering?
This is control engineering for sure.
Okay. I'd like to use 1 momentum for cautious engineering to add a die.
Okay.
And let me just double check.
Oh, you know what? The Ross helps here too. Oh God. Oh, Chief Singh rolled a 1.
Yay!
Sorry, I've been playing a lot of D&D lately, so I saw the 1 and I was like, oh no, wait. Oh, damn. This is what poor Taliesin had to go through when he guested on our show.
Okay. Transporters and replicators as a focus, would that apply?
No.
Or something else?
No,
Nothing else
but
fits.
Ross does get to assist you on this.
Great.
You are using the USS Ross's computers, so.
Tech got 3 successes, so it's a success no matter what. The rest is gravy.
Yeah, let's get that. Okay, so Singh got a 1, so it's a critical success for him.
Great. So that's 2 more.
Okay, so the Ross, I'm going to have the Ross roll computers and engineering.
I can do that.
Okay.
That's 11, 14. 1 success.
Perfect. So you beat the difficulty by 4, is that right? 3.
By 3. It was a 3 difficulty. We got 6.
So 10, 9, 8. Okay, so
that should take half an hour off.
Yeah, you can do it in 30 minutes unless you want to spend more momentum to cut some time down.
Yeah.
We have 4 momentum now.
Let's. What if I use 6? Like I just dump all of it.
You could do that, and you would have it done right away.
Wow.
We have 4.
Then you have 4 momentum plus you have 4 baseline momentum plus the 3 you just gained, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it should be.
No, we
4
were
total.
down to 1 momentum, then we gained 3, so we had 4 momentum total.
Don't y'all miss playing in a studio?
I do.
Yeah, where we can
2
actually
plus 2 plus.
Yeah, I've been keeping count on the side.
I feel like
Same.
we're in Clue where it's like 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1.
So we spend 4.
Spend 4. So that's going to be a
20
total of 40 minutes down, so 20 minutes left. So you basically complete a task that would take a standard engineer an hour. And with Chief saying at your side, the 2 of you do it in 20 minutes. So y'all are basically using some designs that you have already come up with that just as like a pet project over the past year in space that you and LeCat and everybody have just kind of like fiddling around with tech in your that is technology and not actually the Chief, fiddling around in your spare time. You have managed to
also that Dr. Yugos might have helped out with some of his research with
that's true because he specializes in spatial anomalies.
Yeah.
So he might have been able to lend his expertise to this. Especially when he finds out that one of his best friends is down in a hole. Yugos is going to be like, yes, of course, anything I can do to help. You can't reach them? If this is a subspace problem, then I can definitely lend my expertise in any way possible.
Well, kinda.
Let me see, yes, let me see the. Oh yes, okay. I don't know if this is technology is available to you, but let me show you one of the things that we do. And he starts tweaking some of the schematic, and the 3 of you working together. In that 20-minute time block, we're going to cut down to below the surface. Below the surface of this world, you are all still at the very bottom of that hole, but at this point, you've managed to pull everyone up and out of the rubble. One of the things that you have noticed ever since people are being pulled out of the rubble is the pirates that were up there during the exchange are also down here. They are
trained by our security detail.
Yeah,
and we still have a prawl.
Oh, prawl has handled that. Everyone has kind of set up a small miniature camp. Right now, Ambassador Olin is keeping calm the young boy who's with his father at the moment and checking in with you guys. But just as a quick reminder, the head of the colony is down here. That's Yomti. Yomti and his son, Vatil. Yomti is the community leader of this world, and his breather mask was broken on the fall. He doesn't have it on right now. He's not displaying any symptoms yet. But here we are. LeCat, you've managed to get some basic readings on your tricorder. It is still fluctuating. You've been able to boost the power a little bit on this, but the scanning is still a little spotty. You're not getting full information reads. You're getting partial data stream from the sensors. So
what is the partial data that I am getting?
just that the DNA of a lot of the organic life down here is clearly related to, and in some cases, it's an exact duplicate. And here's the implications of that, Lakat.
Mhm.
The DNA, the genetic code of some of the biological life that's down here is from what you have been able to read based off of that roll that you had when you were scanning after charging it with a cell battery, is it's almost as if the life down here is a clone of the life that you discovered on that world in the Shackleton Expanse. It's not just related. Some of the plant life down here, some of the spore life and fungi looks like it's the same. Genetically indistinguishable from each other.
Can I get like an age reading on this?
Why don't we have you roll for it? And it's going to be very difficult because of the interference. And to reflect this, I'm going to go ahead and just spend 2 threat. And that is going to activate.
I don't know when its birthday is, Eric. Why do you need to for that?
I just love giving gifts.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and say that I have spent that threat, and that is going to add a trait to the scene.
Okay.
So a trait to sensory interference. So for right now, moving on, anytime you guys want to do anything using your sensors, it's going to default at a difficulty of 3.
Okay.
Until you get rid of that trait. So right now, I'm going to say it's difficulty 3.
Can I use a momentum for an extra dice, my friends?
We don't have any because
anymore.
Xander used all of them.
Thanks,
A
Xander.
robe.
Listen, it happened fast.
And can I assign Ensign Dari to assist Lieutenant Lakat as well, since
Yes.
this is of utmost importance of I know Lakat's going to want as many samples as possible because we don't know if we'll be able to come back down here based on we don't know what the interference is, if it's safe for us to even be down here for extended periods of time at the moment. And I have full capabilities that we will be rescued if we can't find our way out, but top priority is getting out as fast as possible before the infection within the I already forgot his name, but he is lovely.
It's Yomti.
Yomti. That before the infection in Yomti starts to spread, because we're trying to actively make his kid almost not even notice anything's happening. Because I, again, faith in the cat or in Dr. McCrell.
Faith in the heart.
Yes.
Um,
Words are hard today.
yeah. All right. So Dari is going to be able to assist you, but you're not going to get any equipment assistance. So the difficulty is not going to drop, but you are going to get Dari's engineering expertise. And it just so happens that Dari specializes in jury rigging. So Dari is going to roll with you. The difficulty is 3. Go ahead and make your roll, Lakat. This is actually going to be control plus science. And Dari,
science. Okay.
Because you're basically using fine tuning to try to tweak that tricorder. You're basically you're kind of using engineering on the tricorder. I'm delegating the engineering aspect of what you're doing to Dari since she's the engineer.
It's okay. I got a worse roll this time when I was rolling for control and science. So.
Oh no.
Can I use my sensors focus?
Yes.
Oh, thank God. I mean, so
yes,
so 2 successes and 120.
Okay, so you're going to get a complication, but Dari did hit that success, so you are going to succeed with a complication.
Thanks.
Okay. I am going to spend that. No, I'm going to bank that threat. I'm going to bank it. All right. You see the tricorder start to light up as power is being fed into it. And, here's the complication. I'll cast that back. I've got an idea now. You can get a full sensor read as required, but it's going to burn out the tricorder. So, all right. Go ahead and make your reason science check. You get 1 roll, and the tricorder is going to die. And Dari is going to have the same realization you are as soon as it starts to happen and the data comes in and you get to scan it. There's going to be a moment where you read the data and get confirmations that you need, and then we're gonna have a funeral for our poor tricorder friend.
It's okay. This tricorder is really.
Mr. Scanning, no.
Wait,
go ahead.
Sensors. I can still use my sensors focus.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. So use reason science check here and use your
three
sensor focus.
successes.
The difficulty is going to drop down to 2 because you're using a tricorder now. So difficulty is 2. You got 3 successes. So gain a momentum.
Yes.
And the data starts coming back as you charge up the tricorder. Couple of things immediately registering on the tricorder as it gets full capability for a few moments to actually scan this cavern. First of all, the cavern that you're in is actually connected to a large tunnel network, and it only goes one direction. But it seems to lead to the east, which is actually a little closer to the colony itself. It's kind of not in the exact same direction, but in the direction-ish of the colony itself. But it looks like a vast underground cavern tunnel network that kind of spreads throughout. It does branch a couple of ways, but it doesn't look like there's much of a chance getting lost. You can scan up to about 2 kilometers away with this scan. The tunnel probably travels for about 1 kilometer before it opens up into another large passageway, much like the one you're in. And then it stretches on for another 0.5 kilometer where your tricorder picks up highly unusual readings that seem to be the source of the gravitational anomalies here in the entire network of cave. You detect also a bloom of biological readings all over these cave networks, particularly in the location of that gravimetric disturbance, that gravitational disturbance, I should say, at the end of the cave network, about 2 kilometers from here. The terrain also gets scanned, and it doesn't look like it's going to be an easy hike, but doable. You also get an environmental scan as well, and it looks like the air down here is pretty consistent from start to finish. It looks like the air down here is... Let me put it this way, Lacat. You're starting to see that this could be problematic for those that breathe air down here, specifically for the dead. The reason why is because your tricorder comes back displaying that this place is rich in oxygen, which could explain why the dad is starting to giggle a little bit as he's talking to his son off in the corner. This place is basically, this is some of the most pure natural air that you've ever seen. It's not so much air as it's almost pure oxygen down here. Traces of hydrogen, traces of nitrogen, and traces of carbon dioxide, but a lot of pure oxygen. It's problematic. This amount of oxygen that has been stored down here could be dangerous. You probably don't want anything flammable going off down here either.
No.
But
you mean like a bomb exploding?
A bomb explosion, exactly.
Or like a
Or
pirate trying to
static
grab somebody's-
electricity from someone's uniform.
Yes.
So here's what happens.
Am I a fire hazard?
You also
You're not a fire hazard.
you also get a quick glimpse at some of the biological reading that's going on through here. You can definitely confirm, based off of your previous sensor scan, that the life down here is there's no doubt they're genetically related to the plant life you found on the other planet. It cannot be doubted anymore. Some, not all, seem to be genetic clones of the plant life that you found on the surface of that world. Nothing about the plant life in here seems inherently lethal or dangerous. You're not detecting any toxins. You are detecting all of those spores are down here. And even though those don't inherently give off a red flag of toxicity in the scan, you of course now know that these things cannot be inhaled without it becoming dangerous. And that is what you get before the tricorder begins to flicker. And then I'm going to spend 2 points of threat because the overcharge not only causes it to flicker, but spark, which as you're reading that, this thing pops in your hand, Lacat. Lacat is literally in the middle of reacting to the information when it goes pop pop, and it's enough of a spark that it causes a firework going off.
Okay,
no chain reaction, so don't worry, because I'm only spending 2 threat for this, but it's enough that I'm going to roll 3 challenge dice on damage for you.
Oh, damn it.
And Dari is close enough that this is going to probably give her 1 challenge dice. You
on the light in this room, but I'm gonna wait for a second.
You take 2 points of stress damage.
Oh boy. Okay.
And Dari is going to take 2 points of stress damage. And both of you are popped back suddenly as the tricorder blows up in your hand.
Oh boy. Oh,
as
boy.
the complication from the engineering and the mixture of the gases in this cave all just come together and in an incredibly, the odds are stacked like unbelievable that it happened, but it pops. And you drop the tricorder to the ground and your hand has got this small wisp of smoke coming up. You can see burns on your fingertips and on the inside of your palm.
Lieutenant!
Oh.
Listen, are you alright?
Yes, I'm fine, but she's gonna like give you the information on the atmosphere here, as well as like, I think that I know where the source of this gravitational pull is, and it's through those tunnels, and my tricorder's on the fits, but I think that we should go investigate it.
Would phasers explode this place?
Phasers would definitely ignite.
Oh yeah.
Immediate no weapon fire. Done.
So let me ask you
rudimentary mission from this point on. No tricorders, no phasers.
All right. I'm gonna have you make a roll real quick, Exio.
Okay.
I want you to roll insight plus command.
Okay.
And I'm gonna set the difficulty for this at 2 and tell me what you get. Oh boy.
Also, just to clarify, they're wearing like enviro suits?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. What'd you say the challenge was? Number?
2.
I only got 1.
Okay. So you...
No.
All right. And yes, Sandra, to clarify, so the burn on your hand, Lacat, is not seared into your flesh per se. You do feel the burn on your flesh, but it's more, the enviro suit's been damaged essentially.
And you said 2 stress or 3 stress? I'm so sorry. I was writing that.
2, I believe.
2.
The enviro suit, is this connected to it, or is the mask separate?
Oh, her mask is intact, but the enviro suit.
I wasn't sure if it's like a hazmat suit where like the internal air is also the internal air.
Oh, so it very much works very similar to like Star Trek's Discovery's enviro suits, which are smart. If there is an exposed part of the body, in order to protect the rest of the body, it can make a seal. So if for example, if Lacat's hand became exposed to the outside, the enviro suit, if it's not damaged, can seal so that the person still inside does not just die because they lost their hand. So
great.
In this case, as you walk over, you tell Prawl, no gun, no shooting, no nothing in here. Prawl nods to you and then immediately shoots a glance over at the pirates, who now heard that weapons cannot be used in here. And it occurs to you, Exio, which is what that command roll is for. It occurs to you that the pirates are now aware that a firearm cannot be used against them, and they just kind of look at all of you. Prawl gives them a look right back. I'm going to have Prawl make a roll for intimidate here.
Right now, please.
I'm gonna have, and Prawl actually does have a focus in intimidation, so, and I roll a 4. I roll a 4 and a 1.
Can I also try to intimidate? Oh, can I also?
You want to? Do you want to?
Momentum?
Yeah. If you want to assist on this.
Yes. While he looks at them, I am now realizing that they are in earshot, and that he's giving them a look purposefully. I'll just say, you know which method to use instead if they try.
Okay.
So
that's
like,
great.
activate the omega-13.
Yeah, the omega-13 particle. Go ahead and make I would say roll a single die, and on this, I would say make a presence command check.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a contested roll, so the flat difficulty here is 2. I'm sorry, 1 versus what they rolled.
Oh, I also crit.
Okay, so that's 4, 5 successes against.
So that
their
means
2.
we have we currently have 4 momentum.
Okay, well, here's the thing about that is they don't know what the F is going on, so they're already a little edgy right now. The fact that Prawl is standing there like, the Dominion War veteran sharpshooter with the goggles on, staring these guys down as he is, plus Exio, who has managed to show that she can go invisible if she wants to.
And also jumped in a hole.
Yeah.
Fine.
They do not, they look a little cowed. They do not seem like they're particularly interested in picking a fight. However, had that roll failed, they might have tried to look for opportunities. But in this case, with such a spectacular intimidation check, Prawl glances back and goes, I'll make it clean. And you see one of the pirates just go, are they not? They're Starfleet, right?
They're Starfleet? Okay.
Prawl just grins and looks back at you and nods.
Or do our communicators work together under here? Testing.
What's that?
I'm checking if our communicators to each other work, or if the interference so strong
They appear to work. If you have proximity, it seems like if you get too far away in proximity, they start to become a little static.
Okay.
Which, by the way, because of the scans that Lacat did, I can go ahead and confirm to you that in short range, the communicators will work.
Okay. Lieutenant Lacat, I don't think it is wise for the entire mission to go forward, especially with a citizen who is currently infected. We don't want them getting closer based on your information that there is more plant life deeper within the tunnels for us to move him closer as to possibly expedite his infection. So this will be, I do encourage going and checking it out, as there may be a separate entrance or a separate exit tunnel up to the facility that we are unaware of.
An away team for the away team.
An away team for the away team. I trust you to set that up with Commander Prawl.
Of course.
Pick your team.
If possible, and if Ensign Dari can be spared, I would love her eyes on whatever is down there.
Yes, I think that's a wise choice. Ensign Dari?
Prawl steps forward and leans over to you, Exio, and says, you should actually probably go with her, Commander.
You think?
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if I don't know how it works. Am I a fire hazard? Is my tech warm enough to spark? I don't know.
No, no, it doesn't seem to be, but
Okay.
but he does point out, he's like, if we're just going to stay stationary here on prisoner duty, we can leave the security officers with me. You are more than enough to handle whatever they run into. Plus, you have the added ability of being not constrained by the environment around here. With all due respect.
Valuable assessment. Lacat, I will accompany you if I'm chosen for the team.
I will take it into consideration. I must say your resume is impressive, Commander.
All right, so Dari, Lacat, and Exio pack up and start getting ready to head off in the direction. Prawl and the other 2 security officers take a crescent formation, and the Sun and Yomti and Vatil just get comfy.
Yeah, and I imagine the ambassador is with them.
Olin's gonna want to stick here.
I just meant with them specifically. Sun.
Yeah. Olin just says, I'll try to reach you on the communicator if anything goes wrong. I know it's limited range, but Ross is probably trying to contact us. So if I hear from them, I'll see if I can relay what's going on.
Thank you. Do you mind if I speak with you a moment?
Of course, Commander.
I was not here for the negotiations, and I know you were quite nervous, and I wanted to let you know that you did nothing wrong. It was an unforeseen incident on my half.
It doesn't take any of your behavioral reading skills Commander, to see that Olin is doing their level best to keep that stiff upper lip, but Olin has never been good at hiding that irritation with themselves. And you just see them kind of look at you and go, didn't go as I'd hoped.
The only important part at the end of a hostage negotiation is that the hostage is returned to their family. This was a successful negotiation, Ambassador. And I could not, and she looks, I look down at their burns, and then back at the sun. I could not have done what you did. I'm glad you were there, Ambassador.
Olin seems to take that into account, and there's a nod, and they just say, I'll think about what you've said. Stay safe. Okay.
Lecat, lead the way.
The three of y'all go on a hike through a glowing forest that is literally a reminder the forest is upside down. There are trees growing on the ceiling, and these great, like, jungled style, almost redwood sized trees from the ceiling that's 600 to 800 feet over your head, casting a bluish, greenish, bioluminescent glow across the inside of this cave. It is stunningly beautiful and completely alien and absolutely thrilling to see, and completely defies what you know. Plants this large, Lecat, should not be able to grow out of the ceiling in this way that they have done and be able to support their weight. The roots must be miles long, first of all. And how are they growing into the rock face? There's so much about this that doesn't make sense. Not to mention that there's parts of the ceiling that registered on your scans that are reading as biological, but when you glance up, it almost looks like, at first, it seemed like there was a layer of fog like you might see at the bottom of a jungle, but instead on the ceiling where the roots of these trees would be. But as you guys move further and further away from the hole that you all fell down into Wonderland, moving deeper into the cave, and you get more of that, I would say, less light pollution, with your eyes, Exio and everybody can start to see that it almost looks like there is a liquid on the ceiling. Some kind of liquid that is on the ceiling at the base of these trees, almost like there is a swamp over your heads, and it's just not falling on top of you. It is an upside down forest.
So swamp, so it's like not flowing water, it's stagnant water.
Looks like it might be stagnant, but you do see it has the ripple effect of active, like, wave action. You don't see any white caps or anything, but it looks like it could be, and there's no wind down here really, so it's either it's either operating on some other momentum, or there are things swimming under the surface. But enough of the water on the ceiling is moving at the base of this, and there's enough of it that you're able to.
Gravitational disturbance could be causing the ripples too, Lieutenant.
That's very true, because gravity ain't behaving here the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. Wow. Dr. Yugas would love this, is all that she can think about right now. Yeah. It's just, this is what she's feeling. But as much as she wants to...
as many records as you could possibly need.
It's true. You've got a walking camera right now that's recording all of
it. Better than a tricorder. Better than a tricorder.
Just tell me where to point my face, Lieutenant.
You've got the Exio GoPro.
As much as I want to keep looking up, I think that we should be looking ahead to where these tunnels lead. So yeah, I think that we want to keep going further into it and just get a lay of the land, specifically, and see if there is, I mean, first of all, would be nice if there was just a nice little staircase to the surface, but I don't think so. But is there a nice little staircase to the surface?
No, but before you laugh at the suggestion, keep in mind you fell into a hole after a torpedo exploded to find an upside down swamp over your head. So it's not, an outrageous thing to ask.
I mean, more scenario, we just like climb up, like we find a way to like pull down a vine and we just climb up the vine. That's my
video game style. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, if
video
you maybe
game
punch a brick, a vine will grow out of it and take you up into the next
exactly.
world.
Random question: Is the tunnel that we're currently, based on how we are moving, is the tunnel flooring going at an even keel? Is it going down? Are we going?
Great question. It seems to be going at a level that is consistent with the rest of the cave complex. It doesn't look like it goes down, goes up, goes down. It doesn't look like it changes dramatically or goes deeper into the planet itself.
Great. As long as we weren't going deep
down. Yeah. I mean, you know, Moria sounds great until you get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I will say this: the cave complex that you're journeying through right now is consistent. It's not just a tunnel you're going down. It is more and more of this this artificial environment, or this, rather, I should say, very not artificial environment of this swamp over your head and plant life growing all over. But you do notice one last piece of information that's worth noticing is the ceiling that y'all are walking on seems to be primarily connecting with spores that are floating around here that are catching the bioluminescence and reflecting light back, causing them to look like basically little bitty puffballs of snow that's being caught in the light. The plant life does not grow past roughly the middle part of the ceiling itself. So again, it's behaving like y'all are the ceiling and it is the floor.
Is there any moisture where we're walking? Because sort of in cave structures, when there's cavernous like being created, water dripping down and pooling at the bottom, is it just doing the opposite, or are we walking on sort of? Are there any? Is it which one is it? The stalag?
No, the G means it's on the ground. C means it's on the ceiling. If I remember correctly, yes.
But in this case, which one is it?
Stalactites, hold on tight. Stalagmites might reach the ceiling.
Right, but we're opposites. So the floor is the
Who
ceiling.
knows?
So are there any of those to suggest that there are
things, right?
So Exio,
yeah.
because you have asked, and because you are in a unique position, it may not have been something that anybody else noticed, both being in an enviro suit and not being able to use tactile sensation through their gloved hands to see what's going on. But as you're moving through the cave, on a impulse, you start asking yourself these scientific questions as you're moving through here on the hike. The light source has now become an ambient glow as opposed to a shaft of sunlight overhead. And as a result of that, it does seem to change the environment a little bit, and on instinct, you reach out to touch what looks like one of the rock faces because it is reflecting some of the light, and when you touch it, yes, moisture. You wipe what looks like a fluid, though, not water, some kind of like fluid that gets wiped off the side of one of these rock pieces. And as you hold it up in your hand, it flows. It seems to, instead of just like if you were wiping up dew with your hand, how the water would just like drip down. This doesn't. This looks like it's about to start dripping, and the fluid rejoins itself and pools at your fingertip and holds there. Almost the way liquid would behave in low gravity, except it doesn't leave your fingertip. It remains on your fingertip, pooled at the center.
And the texture is more gooey rather than like...
Yes, it feels a little... It doesn't feel quite as... It doesn't feel like thick, but it does not feel like water.
A nice fun walk and talk. Another sample.
What is Dari making of all of this as well?
Dari doesn't want to touch anything. She's
I
like...
advise against it.
Dari is like moving through here, just going like, ice caves, fine. Fine. Fungi caves? Not okay. This is not okay. This is not okay.
I mean,
how much further would you estimate we are till we reach the gravitation disturbance room?
Yes.
About 2 kilometers, roughly.
Oh.
You've got a hike.
I say we keep going.
Absolutely.
There's science
I'm
in
gonna
there.
keep my peepers open because I can
Okay.
get a little closer.
And the further we travel into this place, it seems to grow prettier with each description. It's almost
Run towards the pretty.
I mean, I suppose if I was gonna be in any spot, this is gonna be my last spot. It's a pretty spot.
Your last spot, Lieutenant.
Jane just kind of lets her words trail off. Let's keep going down. In 2 more kilometers. Let's go.
The mute feature just protected you from your captain telling you to shut up. All right, so you guys continue forward. I am going to request a roll from our chief medical officer. You are going into the next hour of research and trying to synthesize something that will stop these spores from killing your patients. You and your fellow doctor, Dr. Stephen Yin, have been hard at work at this. Right now, the difficulty of the roll is 3, the resistance is 3, and the magnitude is 2. You have currently worked off. Remember, you only had 8 attempts.
Correct.
However,
I'm at 5 now.
You have I have on this. So I have on this that you've attempted 3 times. You've gotten 3 attempts in.
Yeah, so I have 5 left.
That's correct.
Is what I meant.
Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You've worked 12 off of the work track from 18.
Yeah, it did.
So, it's just funny hearing Macron. Yeah, I did.
Yes, Macron.
All right, so go ahead and make your roll. Dr.
Okay.
Yin is going to make his roll.
I'm going to take 1 momentum for an extra die.
Okay, do keep in mind there is a resistance of 3. So when you don't use piercing, it means I get to activate that resistance on you. It makes it really difficult to score any successes.
Correct.
Okay, let's go ahead and make your roll.
And again, control medicine.
Yep.
Yes.
Dr. Yin rolls a 13. It's 1 success from him.
I got 2 successes and a 20.
Okay.
Wait, I am cautious. Ha! I got 3 successes.
3 successes?
Yeah. Thank you, cautious.
Every time, just a real quick sidebar. Every time, like I say, thank gosh for cautious, I think back to character creation and Sam being like, "Take cautious."
Yeah, because Sam watched. Yeah, we all saw what cautious did for us on Shield of Tomorrow. So ever since then, everyone's like, "Fucking take cautious, y'all. Take it. Be a very cautious."
Some mechanics are just good.
Yup.
I just
Reroll mechanics. Chief Tech. Some mechanics are just good.
So that was 4 successes, so we gain 1 momentum back, and I would like to use the momentum for piercing.
So hold up. Yes, you're going to want to use piercing. Otherwise, you're not actually going to succeed.
And that's a 1 momentum, correct? Spend or 2?
Let me double check. It's been a while since we've used this.
Yes, and
the cheat sheets for Star Trek Adventures have gotten a lot better, but they still. Oh, here we go. This is okay. Here we go. Additional work. Yep. Most common spinning the examples. Here we go. Magnitude work difficulty. Sorry, give me 1 sec.
I forgot to. I should have written that part down.
Usually I refer to Xander. You got
Yes,
this?
I have it. Piercing ignores 2 points of resistance for 1 momentum.
Ha-ha!
Okay, so you can ignore 2 points, which will bring. So you'll still succeed. You'll hit the difficulty exactly.
Great.
So you only have to spend. How much momentum is that? 1 point. 1 to okay, which means the resistance will drop to 1. You rolled 3 successes. Is that correct? No, 4 successes. So the resistance chops that down to 3, and then you hit the target number. So bam, you succeed.
And
which is all you needed to do.
3 momentum left.
So now roll your medicine plus 2, so that and d6s. Tell me how many successes you get.
That's a good sound.
That's a good sound.
Yeah. 8, 1 effect. I legit, so I only have 4 die here, so I had to do 4 and 3. The first 4 that I rolled, all of them were 2 successes and 1 effect. I was like, "Ooh!" That was the happy face.
5 successes gives you a breakthrough, and you finish the work track, which gives you a second breakthrough, which means you just completed the task.
Oh!
Because you had a magnitude of 2.
I Scottied
So,
this.
in one mighty stroke, you behead the dragon and
You bonesed it.
Yep.
I bonesed it. Yeah. I bonesed that.
Yeah. So
okay.
McCrell, it all just starts falling into place for you. You start seeing how some of the proteins are reacting to some of the stuff that you're synthesizing, and you're able to start plotting some pretty advanced changes to the synthesis of this tonic that you're making. And just on a whim, you and Dr. Yin start guessing at some of the science has been hinting in certain ways, and some of the scans that y'all have been having on the way the vaccine is reacting to the proteins and the molecules of the spore itself kind of get you both in a moment where you think it's possible that it's doing this instead of this, and the two of you putting your heads together in the next 30 minutes carve out a workable vaccine that should interact and prevent the advancement of symptoms of the spores in people. And immediately, once you have the first batch synthesized and replicated, you and Dr. Yin take it over to this young teenage girl who has probably only got a few hours left. And it may not be to typical protocol, but desperate times call for desperate measures, and you inject her. And the two of you sit down next to her bio bed and begin to read the changes that are happening. You get to see her life support monitor starts to change, but you get to see, after about maybe 3 minutes of watching, Dr. Yin wipes some of the sweat off of his forehead and takes a seat next to you. And in silence, y'all just watch the biomonitor bed. Because according to some of the readouts you have and the models that y'all built, you should see a change happen to her life support readings pretty quickly. Nothing's happening yet. Dr. Yin sits there for a second and says, "So, are you the Dr. McCrell that was nominated for that prestigious award not too long ago?"
Yes.
You used Borg nanites to help rebuild a Romulan brain.
Not rebuild, more just like reroute.
Reroute. That's incredible. That's incredible. It's if you don't mind my saying, it's a certain type of poetry, taking such a terrible weapon and turning it into something that helped somebody. I don't think there's been a bigger victory against the Borg.
Well, sometimes the things that we are most afraid of have the best positive ending.
I think I know what you mean.
It's not, yes. I'll have to write that down and reword it later.
Yeah, put it in a medical journal.
Yes. It's the same thing as sometimes discovering a poison can give us so much more when we discover some kind of antidote or...
Earth's history has lots of stories like that.
Yes. Some of the best scientific breakthroughs have come from history's darkest times. So you find the darkness, and within the darkness you find the light, and then you have tea.
And then you have tea.
Yes. Question for you, Eric. Did the captain send me those videos yet?
Not yet.
Yeah, okay.
That's going to happen in just a moment.
Okay.
But instead, because we're about to go on our break, while you are sitting there and you guys fall back out of the small talk and quiet, you see the biosigns begin to change on the bed. And you see the oxygen levels in her blood begin to rise. And then her eyes shoot open.
I immediately grab her hand and hold it.
She grabs your hand and stares at you. And she looks at you for a moment and says, Who are you?
Just the doctor.
Dr. Yin immediately walks over and says, Michelle, this is Dr. McCrell. She's been helping me formulate an antidote to the spores, and we think we helped you. We think you're going to be okay. And her expression doesn't change. She looks at Dr. Yin and she looks back at you and looks at the Starfleet insignia on your uniform, notices you're wearing a uniform, and she goes, Starfleet.
Yes.
And she pulls you close and says, the torpedoes are hurting us. And that's where we're going to pause for our break.
Ooh.
We'll be back in 10 minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Ooh.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's go ahead and jump into tonight's episode of Clear Skies, where we last left off. McCrell had successfully synthesized an antidote to slow down the effects of this spore that had gotten inside the body of this young girl. The young girl has awoken, and the first thing out of her mouth is after like registering where she is and who's in front of her, is that the torpedoes are hurting us. At about the moment that this is revealed, is about the moment when you start receiving a data uplink to the Ross, McCrell, and you hear coming through Chief Singh saying, "This is Chief Singh to Dr. McCrell."
McCrell here.
Oh, Doctor, on the orders of the captain, I've been forwarded some information from an interrogation that happened, and I'm sending it to you right away. It looks like, you'll have to see for yourself, and begins to feed the data, which immediately is brought up on one of the display screens. As this is happening, Dr. Yin holds this young girl's hand and says, What does that mean? The torpedoes are hurting us. And as you glance over at the screen, you see Captain Sol in the interrogation room with this individual. You have no idea who the hell
I'm very
Sol is.
confused. I ever thought everyone was happy and fine and going about their day.
You have no idea who Sol is talking to, but the individual in question seems to be very conflicted. However, we'll say, for the sake of giving this information over, you do see the blue ring around this person's eyes, and the person mentioning over and over again in that erratic way that he was talking, the torpedoes. You basically see the scene as it played out, which has a context that nobody else has but you, because of this girl's awakening and the first thing that she is concerned about.
I'm gonna turn back to the girl and her name was, what was it again? Jennifer? Was it Jennifer? Wait, what was her name again? I can't remember.
We can make it Jennifer. She's in peace. It was Michelle, I believe.
Michelle. I'm gonna grab her hand and be like,
Michelle, when you say that the torpedoes are hurting you, do you mean you physically, or are you just compelled to tell me this for some reason?
I don't know.
What made you say that to me?
She just says, I don't know how I know that or how I feel that. I just needed to tell you.
It's all right. You get some rest, and you're going to feel better very soon.
and then I'm gonna pull Dr. Yin away.
As you pull away, she squeezes and doesn't let you go immediately.
Okay.
And she says, I feel something. I feel... And then she relaxes her hand and sinks back into the medical bed and stares up at the ceiling. Dr. Yin looks at you and steps aside with you for a second and says, "She seems to be having some kind of response to the vaccine."
I do not believe that it is the vaccine that is causing this. I feel like what is causing the infection, the spores, are trying to tell us something.
The spores are trying to tell us something?
Do you ever suspected that the life on this planet is somewhat sentient?
No, nothing Starfleet ever gave us suggested that this... If there was sentient life, that would have completely affected our colonization plans. We wouldn't be here.
They might not have been able to show themselves or communicate with us until now. Did you not see on the video, on the interrogation?
No. Video? What video?
Oh, did he not see it?
No, he was with her. Yeah. You take him over and he played.
Yeah, I would like. Oh, I guess I'm gonna let him. I'm just gonna show him a clip of the person going back and forth. Okay. I'm not gonna show the full video. That was a personal interrogation that the captain was doing, and I'm just gonna show like just the small clip of the person going back and forth with saying, "Get the torpedo off." Get you know.
Dr. Yin watches this and goes, "Who is this?"
I also do not know this, but my captain thought that it was important. He's obviously infected in some way as well, and does not seem in his right mind. As if he's compelled to say things that he's not fully has control over.
He mentions the torpedoes numerous times and then seems to double back. He seems erratic and impulsive.
Yes, and when Michelle mentioned that the torpedo was hurting her, I just feel like it's somehow linked in some way. When she said the torpedo is hurting us, she wasn't saying me. She said us.
Oh my God. You know what just occurred to me? Michelle's been in this medical facility since the environmental controls went down.
She was one of the first infected, yes?
Yes, she's had visitations, but that's from her family, of course, when they were permitted in here. But my point is... And you see Dr. Yin look over it and goes, how the hell does she even know about the torpedoes?
That was a Bonnie reaction, not a McCurl reaction.
Dr. Yin looks mystified as he's staring over at the medical bed. She is just laying there looking up, and you can still see the blue glow in her eyes. And she's just blinking and looking around. And he says, you know, Doctor, I know you see some strange things in space travel, but I think you might be onto something here.
This is not the first time that a species was discovered with sentient thought that prior knowledge allowed us to not believe that they were sentient.
If that's the case, then we need to reevaluate. This changes everything.
Yes.
It means that they may be defending themselves. We might be invaders in their world. We need to evaluate how our vaccine is affecting our patients as well. This is going to have wide-stretching implications.
But if they have some way of communicating with us, that means that we can also find a way to communicate with them.
So there's a gap here that we're missing. Up until this moment, with the vaccine, spores have been killing people. Now all of a sudden, she's having these thoughts or she's saying these things. This guy has never received the vaccine.
No.
So how is
we don't know how long he's been infected either.
We need a medical scan of him as soon as possible.
I will let my captain know. And Dr. Yin, if for some reason you start feeling compelled to say things that you might not normally feel or say, please.
Give me the vaccine. Make me test subject.
Are you sure?
Yes, I mean, I have a view from it on the outside now, and I can try to, if I can, analyze whatever might be happening to me. I mean, it seemed to have an almost instantaneous effect on her. It took about 10 to 15 minutes for it to settle in. I'm not quite as far along as she was, but it's worth a shot.
Yes. A shot. And then I'll...
He moves over, and you two synthesize and replicate another vaccine dose. He pulls his sleeve up as you put it into the hypo spray, and he goes, "All right, let's see if I can find out what she's talking about and he's talking about."
The spores might not have been killing hosts on purpose. It might have just been their way of trying to communicate. Maybe this will give an easier way.
Maybe.
All right, I'm gonna give it.
Okay.
And wait.
You administer the hypo spray, and he just flexes his hand after you administer it, and he goes, "While we're waiting, this guy here on the screen, looks like he's Zabalian. We don't have any Zabalians on here, so that's at least one variable."
Before he even says anything, I'm gonna call the captain really quick to make sure we do get a medical scan of him.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Call up to the captain.
Dr. McCrell, to Captain Soul.
Yes, this is Captain Soul.
Captain,
you probably
thank
hear
you.
some footsteps, like I'm on my way to somewhere.
Thank you for that intel. Would you so kindly send a medical scan of your guest as soon as possible? I think we might be onto something.
Namely what?
We believe that these spores may have some kind of sentience and are trying to communicate pain.
All right. Then we're on the right track. I will address some of that. Please comms your staff for the scan. I'm afraid you'll find I'm a captain, not a doctor. Sell out.
It's a
That's
McCrell. It's
okay.
McCrell. It's got an edge of humor to it, but you detect sort of snippiness on part of the captain. Captain seems very irritated right now. So as the comms cut out, it's kind of like you've never heard Skull like really emoting some frustration and irritation right now.
I'm
Something
sure
is
everything's fine. The crew must be just in a bad mood.
Bren probably cracked a bad joke.
Yeah. Dari is fine.
Speaking of which, when you step back onto the bridge, Captain, and you hear Captain on the bridge, where are you headed?
I'm heading to the transport room.
Okay.
Is that where Chief and Chief have both bunkered down? Because I know both of you have your respective.
We were working on the probes.
Yeah, y'all were working on the probe, and by the way, that is finishing up.
Great.
So where are you, incidentally?
Should we be in like a hangar or?
Y'all would be in main engineering.
Main engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't mind doing a walk and talk status update for that while I'm on my way to transport, if you don't mind.
Okay. Yeah.
Hi, Captain. I'm coming along.
Do I have any updates on it? On getting my crew out of a hole?
Well, I mean, it seems like we've gotten these probes figured out pretty quickly. I mean, we thought it was going to take a lot longer, but we're ready to send down.
Excellent. That's what I need. Oh, you're on it. Good. Continue on that. While you do that,
I will attempt a different method of extricating our crew from the hole.
Captain?
Do something that makes Prawl so mad that he has to come back to yell at me.
Is it best if I don't know what's happening?
It's best if you get my crew out of the hole.
Aye, Captain.
Tell Singh to be on standby for a transport in 45 seconds. I'm almost got this gear on.
For one?
Yes.
Understood.
Are you in the transporter room, Captain?
Fill out. Yep. I'm
Okay.
getting my PPE going.
Okay, so in the transporter room, listening to this whole conversation is a certain petty officer, second class, Rivas. A Saurian, who for the longest time has had a lot of confidence issues until they got a very promising, uplifting speech from one Jane Lacat some time ago at Narendra Station, and has since kind of found that sort of confident air. And as you are saddling up, the Rivas just goes, where can I transport you, Captain?
I have this site brought up right here, and it's going to be second sight.
Glances down and says, I'll call the security team.
I believe all threats were neutralized. But thank you. I appreciate your conscientiousness.
Rivas pauses and says,
That would be one, then, to beam down. Rivas.
Yes, Captain. Yes, Captain. The hesitation, and then it says,
Are you alright?
in a monologue about reminding you of protocol and Starfleet regulation, and also not wanting to be stupid and say that to my captain. It's happening inside my head right now, and until you asked me that question, the not wanting to say something to my captain had won, so I think I'll just do as you've ordered, sir.
Excellent. Much appreciated.
You see the anxiety as, hey, Captain, and
Oh, hand me that toolkit, please.
reaches over and grabs one of the toolkit boxes and hands it to you and says, good luck, Captain.
Dear, I think this one has Tech's name on it.
Just in scotch tape and written on marker. Tech.
Right, it's the grab the kit.
All right.
That means it's the best one. Yep.
Okay, you are beamed down to the surface of the planet alone at the site of the second bomb, the second torpedo. The torpedo, of course, is still there, did not detonate. Some of the materials were removed from it. The entire casing of the torpedo itself, still there. Torpedo, still dangerous. Warhead, still intact.
Very.
And as you beam on site, Captain, in your Enviro suit, you see what everyone else has been seeing, this beautiful planet that has, you're kind of in like this shrubland. It looks very much like the beautiful wasteland of like deserts of Arizona, where you just see far stretching beautiful dark red sands and shrubbery that's been growing up out of the ground. Of course, very unique plants, and then of course in the atmosphere itself around you, floating like ash from a distant fire, are these little flecks that are undoubtedly the spores that live here. In front of you is this scar of a land burned right into the crust of the planet itself. Zodoronus is a planet that is far enough away from its main sequence yellow star that the temperature out here is not going to be that much of an issue for anybody who wasn't in an Enviro suit. You're registering that it's basically a warm day here, planet side. And you can see overhead that star shining in the afternoon sky, and aware that the Ross is up there beyond that curtain, that great marble of blue that's over your head. But you're down here alone with what looks like, and you've seen these before, but most of the time that you've seen them, they were in footage being fired at Starfleet vessels. This is a Dominion Polaron torpedo. These weapons were designed to drain the power of vessels upon impact, just like their Polaron beams. While a lot of updated Federation technology was destructive into its own right, specifically quantum torpedoes being a huge leap in the destructiveness of torpedo impacts on hulls, Polaron torpedoes were able to accommodate for high yield warheads, but also cause a systems drain if they detonated inside the hull of a ship. Along with Polaron beams that the Dominion preferred, as well as the Polaron cannon, it made it easy to completely dismantle their opponents and destroy them at the same time. It is a vicious weapon, and you see the telltale signs of Dominion technology all over this thing, just being outside of it. It is open. The casing is wide open, and the warhead is visible from where you are standing.
It has been so long since I disarmed a bomb.
Oh my goodness, Sam Delev. Here we go. All right.
Well, it would hardly make any sense to have additional crew. If it goes wrong, that's just casualties, frankly. So here I am. And here we are. And I have the kit.
Okay. You kneel down next to this warhead. The torpedo itself is about twice the length of you are tall. And even after all these years, and the dust that it's accumulated over the shell casing of this torpedo, the technology inside is spotless, glossy, and you see the telltale signs of that purple energy signature that the Dominion was known to favor so much. The warhead is active. It is not currently live, but this could certainly detonate if you make a wrong move.
We have 3 momentum. Just wanted to throw that out there for no particular reason whatsoever.
You know, I appreciate that entirely random exchange of information. Before I get my hands into the guts of it, I don't think it works without, you know, a neural medium for communication, but just so you know, Spores, if this goes wrong, I really was trying to stop you hurting. Good. I'm going to go into the thing now.
All right.
And it was never a torpedo. It's never a torpedo. Alright, so, are we alright if I take all 3 of those and get 2 dice? That feels... I don't have cautious here because I'm not. What's the difficulty on this?
This is difficulty 5. It's a control engineering check.
Good. Great.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend any threat here. It's difficulty 5, control engineering.
I appreciate it. Look, I'm out here alone, because I don't... My crew is in... Half my crew is in a hole. A good chunk of my crew would... really just not thrive in this particular situation. And I will do anything for my crew. So I would like to invoke said value for my determination spend.
Okay. Okay.
I need that, Eric.
Sam, honestly, what's higher, control or daring for Saul?
Oh, control.
Okay. Because I was going to say...
The Chloros stays on as well it can, but...
Okay. So go ahead and make your control engineering check, and I will allow you to apply that value, so you get 2 automatic successes. Make your roll.
Can my jury rigging focus roll in on this as well?
No, no.
I have to... fair enough.
No on this one. It's such a specialized skill set what you're trying to do. I would say... do you have any other specializations that might help here?
That are pertinent to this... I think clandestine skills is the closest. Yeah, and I don't really feel like it's right for a torpedo. This sort of, like, you know, pipe
bomb kind of nonsense that I saw much more of, sure. Torpedo, a little less. I'm just going to roll these dice and stop stalling because I'm nervous because it's a torpedo.
Let's really hope there are no complications in those rolls.
We're good. No complications. No complications. That's an 8, 5, 13, and a 9. So I think that gets on a control engineering of 16. So all of them are successes, and that gets us to 6.
Okay.
I'm going to fall over now.
You reach inside the casing. I'm just going to say this. Star Trek Adventures always favors the players. It's designed to make players feel like they're in a Star Trek episode. And as a result, Star Trek players in this game get advantage, basically, on being able to pull off crazy stuff. This, I would say, next to Throlo getting assimilated by a Borg, is probably the closest.
Eric.
Probably the closest one of our players has come. Because a complication would have been very, very bad here. So as you're kneeling down next to this warhead, there is, I will just give this to Sol. There is a adrenaline charge that you haven't felt since the days of espionage of old that you are experiencing right now as you fiddle with this warhead. There's a moment where you freeze for a second because the Dominion, like, you are passingly aware of Dominion technology and how, like, it is labeled, how it is created and assembled. You come across a few things that aren't familiar and you make some educated guesses and nothing happens to you. Reaching in with the toolkit, using an extraction laser, you manage to remove some of the casing, and sure enough, the warhead comes clean and slides right out, and you see the power source in the warhead power down. For the first time in 6 years, this torpedo is now dead. And you're just holding it.
Please come back and yell at me about that.
The rest of the torpedo with the warhead removed immediately powers down. Propulsion systems and everything that was keeping this thing going just goes boom. And you see the purple lights blink out. You are now holding essentially an antimatter bomb that expels polaron radiation. This thing, if it went off in its full force, would be enough to level half a city. And you just kind of hold it in your hands. This artifact of a bloody time in the Federation history. And it's disarmed. It's completely disarmed. Bravo. And how interesting that would have been if you had rolled a complication.
But they didn't.
They didn't.
Okay. Sorry, Exio. Another day.
Meanwhile,
so close to a promotion.
In the caves. Actually, before we jump back to the caves, let's cut to, because at this point, we've hit the 20-minute mark by landslide here, so we're way past that. You guys are finishing closing up the probe that you've just created.
Oh. Yeah.
And Chief Singh says, we can beam this directly to the weapons bay and have the torpedo control team fire this. We can have this out into the planet's crust in a matter of minutes.
Get it done.
All right. Gets on. Petty Officer Rivas. Yes. Chief Singh, hi. Chief Singh looks at you and it's like, is everything all right? No. I mean, it's within parameters, I think. Chief Singh also gives you a look and says, can you maybe explain that?
Well, if it was in parameters, I'm sure it was fine.
Yes, I'm sure I think it's fine. You hear the uncertainty.
Well, great, then everything is fine.
Okay. What can I do for you? And Singh says, we need to beam this. We need to beam this probe that we've just finished constructing directly into the torpedo bay for the torpedo fire control teams, so that we can launch this probe immediately. And you're saying, "Oh, that's easy. You won't be launching the probe near the captain's location, were you?" And says, "What? No."
That's it. That's all that we need. Please be very careful and focus on the site-to-site. Thank you. And I'll reach over and tap Sing's communicator.
You tap Sing's communicator, and Sing looks at you like,
"We're just gonna have to trust the captain, and we didn't hear that."
"I don't understand."
"Great. Now get to work."
Sing just looks away and goes back to work. A few moments later, that probe beams directly out of main engineering. And you hear Vryn, "Chief, this is Vryn. I've got the probe. It's loaded into the launch bay."
"I'll meet you up on the bridge. Sing, monitor transporters. We have these probes loaded up, so if we need to do any emergency transporting, be ready."
Anything to get the captain out of their bad mood.
Mm-hmm. And Tech will head up to the bridge to the engineering station.
Okay. A few moments later, doors to the bridge open as you step off the turbo lift. It is an eerily empty bridge filled with Aux crew filling in, but Vryn is currently commanding officer. And as you step onto the bridge, he gets up out of the center chair and goes, "Thank all of the divine creatures that ever existed in the cosmos. Are you taking center chair?" "No, you're chief. You can't."
No. You sit down.
Back into the center chair and goes, "Okay.
Acting Captain Vryn, we've got this loaded up in the weapons bay, and I'll take my position."
"Do me a favor, would you?" And looks back at the weapons control officer and just says, "Could you please fire that damn probe onto the planet so we can figure out what the captain wanted to know?"
"On my mark." And I'll set it up.
Okay.
And
all right.
Fire.
You see this red tracer as this probe just on the view screen. You see it ignite into a ball of flame as it enters the atmosphere and proceeds into the hole.
Fire second probe now.
Second probe launches. Oh yeah, all of my players are no longer in that. Okay, so Olin has an interesting experience. Readings start coming back on the probe immediately.
Olin and Prawl are there.
Readings start coming back on the probe immediately. You see, currently seated at the science station is a young lieutenant, Zarin Toriel, a Bajoran Trill, who is just serenely sitting there at the science station and says, "Data is coming in now."
Thank you, Lieutenant Toriel.
Putting it up on view screen. Taps a few of the control consoles, and you see scans coming back immediately, electromagnetic disturbances, but for the most part, you see all these waves of gravitational anomalies. I'm going to have you roll here, because if there is one person on the entire ship that's not you, Goss, it would be you.
Yes.
So, I'm going to have you roll Insight Engineering.
Insight Engineering. Okay.
Difficulty is going to be 4.
Okay. We have one momentum, right?
The Ross cannot assist here because this is literally Chief Tech pulling from Chief Tech's knowledge and seeing if you recognize the similarities of the readings that are coming back.
Okay. I have focuses in subspace theory or warp field dynamics. Oh, okay.
Subspace theory applies.
Great. And also, since we're looking past the scan, I would like to burn a value. Don't hear, listen.
Okay. That's great. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll use one momentum for cautious engineering. And we have 2 successes already from the determination spend. And you said it was insight engineering?
Insight engineering, correct.
Okay. Grab that.
Difficulty is 4. You've got 2 successes already.
Woo-hoo-hoo! 3 more.
3 more.
The focus counted, so that was one of those was a crit. So 4 more, 6 total.
Trying to impress us?
Yeah.
All right, well, it worked. So go ahead and mark down that momentum.
That's 2. What was it? 2 extra momentum. 2.
So data starts coming back. The first thing that is kind of alarming is that the probe vanishes once it gets about halfway into that hole. And there's a part of you that kind of expected that because you knew that there was interference going on. But the beam that y'all were using, the tight beam communication, was intended to restore the ability to communicate with the away team. So the data that's fed back to the second probe compensates for that.
Yes.
What you didn't expect is for the second probe to also disappear.
No!
That was kind of what you were hoping to avoid.
Yeah.
But the data that comes back is still clear on the second probe before you lose contact with it.
Okay.
So first of all, it's worth pointing out that you already were anticipating an anomaly because you've lost contact with the away team. But you do get life signs. The away team is alive.
Great.
You detect everyone's life signs, including the away team that has started making the trek down the corridors. You detect very briefly, like a blink, you detect that entire biological forest down there. You get a snapshot of that on the sensors. You detect a Cardassian life sign. You detect the telltale energy signature reading of Commander Exio. You detect pretty much everything you expected to. Even the pirates are alive. Olin is in good health. Everyone seems to be okay. And as that data is coming up on the main screen, Lieutenant Zarin is reading off and kind of feeding back, scientifically translating all of this and kind of confirming what you've seen. But as you hear him say one by one, going through the life signs and detect, there is an audible, quiet gasp of relief in the back of the bridge from
Shanto.
From the yeoman. Vryn glances over at her and just gives her a nod and a smile, like a comforting, just like she's okay. And yeah, the yeoman looks back at Vryn, and you just see Shanto just kind of and goes back to her console. And Vryn looks at you and smiles and says, "All right, good news, good news." And the next bit of information that comes in before the second probe is lost are subspace distortion waves.
Quick,
that seem to be disrupting things. What's up?
Before we get too far with that, as soon as that comes in, Tech is going to call on Singh and Ravas to use the signatures to try to get a lock for beaming out.
We'll see what we can do.
I know there's a lot of interference, but we got to work with what we got.
Those successes that you just rolled, the impressive 6 successes, that was to see if you saw the similarities, and you do.
Good.
You haven't talked to anybody planet side, so you don't know that people are finding similarities between the plant life underneath the surface of this world and the similarities between that strange planet where you all took the baby crystalline entity into a nursery. You've got your own shocking mystery that you've just uncovered, Chief Tech. Because the energy wave patterns that you're seeing in the subspace distortion are exactly on the exact same frequency as the particle fountain that you all encountered in the Shackleton expanse.
All right, get Dr. Yugos on the bridge now.
There's this like chill that races through you, and you reach down and you can, Dr. Yugos, report to the bridge immediately. It takes a few minutes, but Yugos, the doors open, and the Jashashian walks onto the bridge and just goes, yes, that sounded urgent. What, is everything all right?
Doctor, take a look at this.
And moves over and looks at the data screen and looks at the distortion waves and goes, that's impossible.
On the other side?
That is scientifically impossible. This would be like discovering the twin to the needle in the haystack you found when you were searching the entire universe for a particle.
Well, lucky us.
What does that mean?
What does this mean?
There's a subway. There seems to be a disruption in subspace. That could be what's causing the communication interference. I think I can help with that.
We could compensate for any gravitational anomaly. We have all this data from the Shackleton expanse and the eddies.
We wouldn't be able to beam them out of that hole in particular. It looks like the detonation of the torpedo probably caused some kind of disruption and made it impossible to beam them back out from that location. At least for the time being. That might dissipate, but the subspace disturbances are exactly... I don't mean to alarm you.
Good.
But I need my equipment.
Get the kit.
It's possible that a particle fountain is going to form under the surface of this planet.
Now?
And that would be apocalyptic.
As in now, it could happen now?
Possibly.
Cool, great.
This is similar to what we observe on our observation stations when we're monitoring the incoming production of the particle fountain. However, this one's behaving a little differently, but it has the exact same energy signature. I just need my... I'm going to go to the research lab. Do I need to ask permission to leave the bridge?
Oh, you have it. Granted. And Tech look over at Vren and just say, granted.
Vren is rubbing his head. You see him kind of run his hand up along his antenna, and then he runs his hair back down. He ran back down his hair, and he goes... This is why I'm a pilot. I don't have to worry about this. I let you guys worry about the mystery crap. I'm going to go sit in a chair I don't belong in. Let me know if you need my help with anything else. I'll be happy to shout orders. And he walks down the ramp, and you hear him say under his breath, holy shit. And he slides into the chair, the center chair, and goes, keep monitoring, keep scans, keep doing everything.
There's a chance, Ren, that we may have to evacuate somehow this entire planet. We need to really keep a monitor on this and make sure that nothing goes wrong.
Bring up the stats on the colony. I need to know how many people are on the planet side. And you see immediately stats come up for the 2,300 colonists on the science station. He goes, oh, okay. I need every available member of Ox Crew to start planning for a contingency if we have to start beaming people out of there. I want the shuttle bays cleared. I need shuttle bays on the standby for both physical transportations and beam outs. I just want to be prepared. Take us to yellow alert. And the ship goes to yellow alert. And Vren stands up and looks at you and says, Chief, do you have any idea where the captain is?
The captain may be planet side, and I will try my best to communicate with them, but...
Computer, location of Captain Azari Sol. Captain Azari Sol is not aboard the USS Ross. Okay, that answers that question. All right.
Vren, you're doing a great job. I need you to continue doing this, okay?
He raises his hand and says, I crash landed during a Dominion war. This is nothing. And he hits the communicator and goes, this is acting Captain Vren to Captain Sol.
Go for Sol?
Yes, well, now that you've gotten a taste of the chaos that you left behind, Captain, I just wanted to let you know some of the findings we just found up here that I think you're going to find quite interesting. And he begins to relay the information.
He tells me my crew is all right.
Tells you that the life supports are all coming through okay. He does tell you that the away team seems to be separated, that a team of 3 are moving through the caverns right now, and that everyone is in good health. Everyone appears to be in good health.
There. Was that so hard to find my crew in a hole?
1,000-foot hole, Captain. I don't know how they survived it, but it might have something to do with the next thing I'm about to tell you. And that's when he starts going into the subspace anomaly, the gravitational waves that are being detected down there, the whole bit. And when he's done, you hear him breathe out and say, we're ready to beam you out whenever you are ready, Captain. Or if you want, we can arrange a site to site.
Friend, do you want out of that chair as soon as possible? Site to site it is.
All right. Aye, Captain. He looks back at the ops officer and says, You heard him. Where are you headed, Captain?
My chair.
You're gonna sight to the bridge, okay. As you beam onto the bridge, holding a Dominion warhead in your hands, Transporter, of course, makes note of that, and the warhead is beamed not with you onto the bridge, but is instead beamed into a containment center, as protocol would demand, is beamed into a containment. And you appear on the bridge with empty hands in front of you because you were cradling this thing in an enviro suit. And Vryn stands up and goes, yeah. And Vryn stands up and says, "It's nice to see you taking some shore leave, Captain."
You're relieved.
Aye, sir. And swivels the console out, slides down into the helm and goes, "God, I love being a pilot." And pulls the helm back.
This was endlessly useful, Tech. Thank you. Toss.
You catch your kit.
I'm glad it was useful. Did everything go smoothly?
The torpedo warhead is in containment 3.
I'm not gonna ask how you did that, but I'm glad it's there. And Tech is gonna leave.
Vryn swivels in his chair, and he says, "I took the ship to yellow alert, Captain. Right now, I've ordered all decks to arrange a possible evacuation based on the information that we've got. Currently, we have Ox crew clearing out shuttle bays and getting ready for shuttle teams to fly down and evacuate if need be, and all transporter rooms are on standby."
Well done.
He nods, says, "Thank you, Captain."
He turns around.
Swivels back and goes, "I prefer being a pilot."
Yeah, it's gonna be a bouncy ball to the back of the chair right now.
Bounces off the back of his head. Y'all have hit the 1.75 kilometer marker trekking through this cave. And the entire time has been a feast for your eyes. You've come across new species of biological life, just different variations of the fungi that you've encountered, but Lacat, your library of new life that has been scanned has gained a few pages today, and it's kind of like this has been a bit of a dream come true for anybody who's enjoyed any kind of we'll say scientific endeavors when it comes to biology, particularly botany or anything along those natures. But as you continue to trek through this cave, Exio, your eyes are being able to detect a shift in the lighting of the cave itself, almost as if there is a secondary light source that is up ahead and approaching.
There's a secondary light source up ahead and approaching, Lieutenant.
Oh, I shouldn't say approaching, that you are approaching, apparently. It seems to be stationary. But you are getting close to that.
I meant we are approaching, Lieutenant, not that it is approaching us.
Because I would shoot into the darkness if it was approaching us.
I cast magic missile.
It's my favorite thing to do. Repeat what the DM says every time.
Also, my name is Exio, and I am a froghead.
Also, Lieutenant, I'm a froghead.
You're pretty sure, Exio,
from. Maybe I'm infected with spores. I felt compelled.
Exio, it must be the universal translator. You don't know what Exio just really said. It couldn't have been what you thought it was. So the two of you continue moving on.
Yeah. Well, Jane has not taken a therapy session with Exio yet, and is considering maybe is this what it's like?
Is that a
God, no.
Mario Brothers reference?
And for the record, if you ever inquire, I would not be yours. I do not think our therapy styles would be fit. I am far too non-confrontational. I think you would respond well to it.
I get that.
Dari.
But
What's that?
I was just saying, unless Lacat wanted to.
No, the cat respects that answer.
Yeah.
Let me just say this. Dari pipes up. I'm confrontational as fuck. Pardon the expression.
That's why I like you.
Hey, and I'm just going to say this. I will happily schedule a therapy session with you, Commander.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Excellent.
Yeah, 100%.
I must commend you on this current mission. Actually, your you was incredibly valuable.
Oh, thank you, Commander. Not going to be an ensign forever.
Of course not.
And, you know, hey,
I already have recommendation papers, sort of, because I truly mean it, Ensign. I needed you to be exactly you, and please never call out when a scene is not the way it should be. And don't be afraid to ever say that quite aggressively, as it aided in us getting to the truth.
She nods and says, I appreciate that, Commander. I think sometimes Chief Tech, he puts up a lot with me. And, you know, you know him just like everybody else. Chief Tech doesn't suffer bullshit either. And it's kind of works well with me. So,
Yes.
He's goddamn, he's passive aggressive. It just drives me nuts. I just want to clock him with the side of a tricorder sometimes.
I think you would take
Not that I would ever attack a commanding officer.
Of course not.
Although
And that is why you are a good officer.
That's
You're allowed to
my
think
standard
as
too,
much as
Commander.
you want. You can think about that, and it's fine as long as you don't, and you listen to your commanding officer.
Right. How are you doing? And she just suddenly nudges you, Lacat. How are you doing? Good. You doing all right?
Jane looked like she was about to ask Exio something, and then Dari nudged her and kind of jumps. It's like, yeah, I mean, you know, that.
Can I insight that really fast?
Yes. And Rave, you have the option of trying to hide here. Otherwise, it's just a straight up.
Oh no. I think that I mean, actually, pure insight that you might not even get from looking at Jane. You could see she was gonna ask a follow-up question about therapy, and just slice into like Jane's mind here is she just wanted to see how Ren was doing in his therapy.
Oh,
worried about him. So that's where she would have gone. I don't think you would get that from an insight check. But depending on how close we are to this gravity, I think that after Dari pokes her, she is reset to like, oh right.
You get this.
Hanging out.
Then I will ascertain that the mood I get from you was an almost empathy crossed your
like
face.
A concern, like a third party concern.
I sensed an empathy check.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Totally. Absolutely. And so yeah. And then it's like, oh right, giant forest ahead of us. You know, us approaching a light. What does this light look like?
So it's a good trek up ahead, but I would say it's another 600 feet of like walking over these sharp, jagged rocks that are growing out of the ground. You've come across a couple of mineral deposits, but nothing surprising. Some rare minerals down here, but nothing, again, that's not out of the ordinary. As you move deeper and deeper into the cave, the one thing that has not changed is overhead. It just seems to be miles and miles of this jungle growing on the ceiling with this strange fluid on the surface. You begin to round the bend, and it starts to open up into a greater space, the area where some of the gravimetric disturbances are happening. And as you are moving up over one of these rock faces, you see Dari slip a little bit on the rock surface as her boot catches one of those slippery, sort of gel-covered rocks. And instead of tumbling forward and falling, you see she starts to float like she's on the moon. And she grabs herself for a second and pushes back and goes, whoa, okay. There's a science experiment for you.
Yeah, and where's that moisture that was collecting in the air, that dew, has its traits changed since?
It has. As you move closer to the light, you begin to see that the rocks almost look like they are made of water. It's an effect being caused by the fact that this strange translucent goo that's like just this little bitty layer of this sort of like watery slime that's on everything is now starting to ripple. It's causing this strange, beautiful lighting effect all across the cave with the ambient glow of the bioluminescence and the light that's coming from up ahead. The ripple effect is almost disorienting to everyone else except for Exio. You're able to get your bearings just looking around. Everybody else, though, it's making this look like you're in this strange cave that's made of liquid. Even though the solid states of the rock hasn't changed at all, the cave itself is now resembling this flowing prism of light that's catching all these different colors from off of the bioluminescence and this strange light source up ahead. And it is in fact causing a little bit of a rainbow effect across your fields of vision. And as you move closer, you begin to see this ambient light up ahead seems to be coming from one single source located in the center of this room that's towards the back, maybe up against the wall where the cave comes to an end. Rounding the corner, though, you see this expansive room that is probably it's somewhat dome shaped. It's a little more rugged. It doesn't look like it looks like it's a natural formation. Probably about 600 feet to the ceiling. The room itself is probably about maybe 3,000 feet wide. And about the same manner of length all the way to the back end. And at the very back of the room, this slime seems to have congealed and coalesced into what could only be described as a glowing pool in the center of the wall, about half a foot up off the ground. And it's large enough that you could pass a shuttlecraft.
Everyone good?
Everyone good?
Oh wait, okay, we all went out, right?
Yeah, we all went out. That was space disturbance, but we're okay.
We got too close to the gravity.
We got too close.
We good, Jake?
Yeah, you're golden.
All right.
I have no idea what that was.
It was the gravity. That's what that was.
All right. So yeah.
Trying to say hi.
So from where you all look, it just looks for out of character, to give you guys a better description of what it looks like you're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of that wall, that glowing pool against the wall, if it had a frame around it, it would look like the Stargate.
No matter how long I stare at this thing, Commander, please don't let me step through it, because I just know I'm going to be tempted to.
Dari immediately looks at you and she just goes, I would drop your ass before I will let you walk through that thing. Are you kidding me?
And that's why you're on this mission. But Jane is just fascinated by this thing. Yeah. And she hates that her tricorder is on the fits right now. Commander, can you discern anything?
Dari pulls out her tricorder and says, look, these are standard issue. If you want to try, we can.
Considering the atmosphere, I would rather us have the commander check first before just letting the tricorder.
Yeah, we're a little. I'm going to advise against using the tricorder. This is the low tech mission,
okay,
Ensign. And the last time, we don't need it to blow up closer to the more oxygen. So, yeah, I'll get closer. What am I looking at?
So Exio, you move closer to this thing, and again, it is traversing this 1,000-foot gap as you're moving across this large dome. The ground evens out here a little bit.
Okay.
And as you get closer and closer to this thing, you start getting the impression that the ground is not looking quite as natural as it used to anymore.
Okay.
Indeed,
Manufactured?
It looks like the rocks that you are now walking on is starting to look like it's intentionally laid before you the way you're walking. And as you continue to advance forward, the other thing you notice too is your footprints in this layer of slime that's kind of gathered around the bottom of the floor. It could be just a coincidence of a natural formation, but it almost looks like you're on a walkway right now as you approach the back part of this room.
Wild.
You can see too that as you kick up some of the slime, it takes it a few moments to drift back down to the floor, indicating that once again, gravity is behaving oddly. It's not causing any of you to walk differently. And when you pick up your feet and move forward, it's not causing any kind of it's not like walking on the moon. It's like walking on a normal 1G planet. However, if you were to leap or jump or stumble, it reacts like you are in low G. Very curious. You make it all the way up to this thing, and it is indeed a glowing pool of some kind. It is amber colored, and the depths in which it disappears down into it's impossible to see beyond the surface. Either that or the pool itself is it's about, like I said, it's wide enough to fit an entire shuttlecraft.
Sure.
So
I guess, yeah, I mean, like, can you tell how deep or...
From looking at it, you can't tell how deep, but what you do notice is the light source doesn't seem to be pinpoint. It seems to be the entirety of the pool itself.
Okay. That's not particularly uncommon, considering almost everything on this planet so far has a bioluminescent sort of core to it. The genetic makeup seems to have some sort of bioluminescence. Mm-hmm. Is it blue? No, you said it was amber. That's interesting.
Amber colored. It's different color.
So when it interacts with a host, it illuminates blue.
Hard to say.
Different species. This is just her pontificating and hypothesizing out loud for the fellow scientists and engineers in the room. Okay. Since I'm a little bit closer, I guess.
Okay.
All right. How far down? Like, I can't like access it.
You can.
I can access it.
You can walk right up to. It's on the wall. It is vertical. It is literally on
the gate.
It's
Don't
not.
It's
like a gate. It's literally like a pool of this liquid that's on the wall, wide enough for a shuttlecraft.
Can I see it like a loose rock?
Throw a rock through it.
You can easily pull a rock up and throw it through.
I would like to sort of take a rock and very slowly go through, see how deep it ends up being before I kind of toss through.
So are you putting your hand inside of it, or are you?
No, I want the rock to be first. I want I want to try to find like a thing to just see what it does to a physical object.
The rock just floats across the space that you just gently toss it to. Just it hits the surface and immediately just goes and disappears inside. The moment it goes past the surface of this liquid, it vanishes into the amber.
Can I see it? Is it so viscous that you can't see through?
Can't see anything through it. The moment this thing passes through the surface, it vanishes.
Okay, well then, secondary rock. Don't let go and pull it back out.
Wait, Commander, do I have like rope on me? just basic way team.
You could, if you want to spend some momentum, you can say you have an emergency line of some kind.
Yeah, let's do it. Xander is holding 2 pieces of momentum.
Two momentum makes it true. The good thing I brought this emergency line of, like, it's not rope, but it's like a cable that can attach.
Sure.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think just a thing to hook onto me because I'm not in an environment.
Are y'all about to pull a Ghostbusters 2 and just like drop down?
Well, no, we're not going to send the commander in. We're going to send a large rock in first and see if anything happens to it. Throw it in and pull it back out.
So, Commander, you stick your hand through.
Mm-hmm. The hand without the ring.
I figured. I figured you wouldn't want to literally take your beating heart and stick it through the portal. Yeah. So the moment your hand passes through the surface, you do not feel any particular sensations. You do feel a temperature shift, a fluctuation in temperature.
Hotter or colder?
It varies, and it's not stable, and it's extreme. Some of it is like comfortable, and some of it is negative 137 degrees Celsius, and then it leaps back up to like a typical standard temperature, and then you don't. What's wild is when you get your arm fully extended, you no longer detect any temperature. No data is coming back to you based off of what you're feeling.
As soon as I take my hand out, or
as your hand is all the way in.
Oh, as it's all the way in. So can I wiggle my fingers on the other side to see if I have like gone through the wall of goo? Am I like free on the other side?
You start wiggling your fingers, and you begin to realize this is a sensation you have when your photonic form has begun to disintegrate.
Ah!
As you pull your arm back out, your body starts to reconstruct your arm. It goes.
We are not going through.
Just a small note that we have been. This is a door that we are having issues with, basically. So, like every tree
Only a door if we try to go through it, and we are not. This is a
commander. I say, give me 5 more minutes here, and I will be trying to go through that door. I think that
I point again. Are you sure, Lieutenant?
Well, I mean, we're made of different substances, so I think that we should troubleshoot just a little bit more here.
I don't mind troubleshooting, just don't do it with your arms.
Can I start with the rock?
Yes.
I'd like to throw a large rock with some of the cable tied around it into the way. Yeah, and then pull it back.
Both the cable and the rock return to you, and they have that same small layer of goo upon it. It's real thin.
Just me.
It's real thin. It's a real thin layer. Like it's almost like you pulled it out of the surface of the water, and it still has water on it, kind of thing.
I feel like I have to.
You know what Sam Delev would tell you in a situation like this?
I do.
I mean, it's 9:23.
Rave's like, I could be the one to deliver a cliffhanger for once.
Well, look, once you put them at the bottom of a hole, they no longer have height to fall from. They're at the bottom of the hole. What else do? You run into a mystery portal.
Dari
What
says,
else is left? Natural
we
conclusion.
could try the tricorder. I'm just throwing that out there.
No.
Okay.
I was already burned once.
Good call.
Can I want to take some of the goo. Can I touch the goo again with my other hand while this one, I mean, it doesn't take very long. It's back. There it is.
Yeah.
Shape my light. Can I touch the goo, and does it have the same, once it's the goo that's on the rock, does it have heat or cold? Is it as temperatured?
It doesn't seem to be. It doesn't seem to be as temperatured.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's
But it does seem to be the same material that's on the cat right now.
Sure. So there's clearly a different source that is heating it, or it has to have a certain amount.
Something. It's definitely different. Something's different about this thing, this pool.
What if I just stuck my left hand through it?
I'm gonna start hooking you in to the cable.
All right.
Full body? Are we just going in?
I'm going to be advising you that you not full body quite yet. I think Dr. McCrell might be mad if we lose more than just a part of you right now. And
I'll step.
Don't tell the captain.
Don't tell the captain. I honestly, you being the highest commanding officer on this away mission, I was going to leave that to you, Commander.
Yeah. Do
I
the same, Lieutenant.
doing the science. Yeah, Jane wants to go hand first, not head first.
Okay.
Go slow. I'm going to be walking you through when I started to feel the temperature changes and which order they were in, seeing if they're consistent with yours. And
I still want to pull like a Dr. Grant here when he grabs the electrical, like the fence and just goes, ah, to like scare the kids. All right. So
Jane would.
Lacat, you move up there and you extend your fingers and start pushing your hand through this pool. And you don't feel any noticeable changes. It feels like you're pushing your way into something a little more honestly, through the enviro suit, it feels like air. Like, it doesn't feel like you're actually pushing yourself through anything. There's a little resistance, but for the most part, when you extend your hand completely and you have what you think is all the way through the surface, you don't really notice a change. There's a bit of a tingling sensation up your arm, which is unusual because you're in your enviro suit, but beyond that, you don't notice anything different.
She's constantly talking through the whole interaction, basically saying exactly what Eric is saying. It's like, I feel nothing, I feel nothing, I feel nothing. It feels like I'm pushing through air, no temperature changes, like consistent, like body, like body, my body feels fine, my body feels fine. Commander, if it's all right with you, I think I'm gonna try taking a step closer.
Hear from you on the other side.
She's going to position herself so that her right arm is the last thing that goes through, and she's holding on to the rope so she can tug on it in case she wants you to pull back. And she says, 2 tugs is get me out of there, 3 tugs is get me out of there fast. And she's gonna walk forward.
Okay, Lacat. You decide to step through the surface of this pool. You take a deep breath to boldly go, and you step through. Immediately, all sound that you were hearing on the other side is completely just vanishes, and you hear like this silence, and then a low ambient roaring sound, like you're under a water, like a waterfall, like you're swimming underwater and you can hear the water over your head crashing into the surface. There's nothing to indicate around you in this amber glow that anything has changed, but the color palettes begin to shift dramatically as you reach to about hand length. And as you move to step down onto the other side, you in fact don't step on anything at all and find yourself free floating. Like you had just stepped into a pool or something. But what you see before you is a little different than just a room filled with liquid. What you see is kind of difficult for your brain to really wrap around at first. It looks like you have entered into a space of some kind that has no noticeable beginning or end. It looks like it doesn't have any noticeable walls or features. Instead, you just see swirling colors of like deep purples and greens and this rich amber color. And it seems so incredibly vast. You can only imagine that that the space that you're in right now is so incredibly vast that you are infinitesimal compared to it. It's like looking into an infinity as you step into this. You are certain that you are still inside this pool, but you also see things that are distant that at first you think you're looking at a star, but then you realize it's a great green globule of some kind that's just sort of shifting and floating in this free space. And these arcs of energy that occasionally appear in this amberish green color that kind of reach out to other globules. You're trying to like put your mind around what you're looking at and try to comprehend what it is you're seeing. But your mind, Lacat, as a scientist and somebody who studies biology, immediately goes to, this is probably what it feels like to be a microorganism inside a giant body of cells. Because that's what it looks like. It looks like you're in this giant pool of this amber green color that doesn't seem to have an ending everywhere you look in every direction. But you also realize that you're free floating further away. Glancing back, you can still see the glow of that pool. That itself looks like the fluid around you has coalesced into that glowing pool that you've just come from. So you can see the door, as it were, that you just left.
Yeah.
And then you spot something, you begin to look down at your hand and you see that for the first time, evidence that light can be blocked here, or like that there is an ambient glow, because you start becoming aware of a changing of shade over your body, looking at it for a sec. And it's difficult to tell if that's just a reaction of what you're in or not, and until you begin to realize that it might actually be something over your head or possibly nearby, maybe one of these globules. And instinctively, you glance up to see what it is that you are close to. Indeed, it is one of these globules that's casting this brilliant greenish, yellowish, amber-like glow.
Yeah,
and it's being blocked by something.
The glow is being blocked, or there's something physically between me and
Think
this
of it like if you were underneath a light source and something was flying underneath the light source. Like when you're on the ground and a plane flies over and a shadow passes over you, the same effect happens. And what you see is what looks like this cylindrical looking object that has a certain elegance to it, but clearly of intelligent design. It's, yes, Jody, massive. It's about the size of the lower half of the hull of the USS Ross.
Oh my god. Does it look organic?
What's that?
Does it look organic?
It does. It has an organic skin. The entire form itself looks like it is made out of some kind of chitin or like skin or some kind of organic surface. You also notice the prongs coming out of the front of this thing, indicating that it has sort of like graspers perhaps, or some kind of almost forked like field, but this thing is immense. You can also see the clear greenish yellowish glow of what looks like an active propulsion system. It starts to occur to you all at once, Rave, that you're looking at a ship. I need you to make an insight science check right now. The difficulty is going to be high. It's 4.
Okay.
Science!
Do we use both of those momentums? Oh, geez. Can I use xenobiology or astrophysics for this?
Xenobiology.
Okay, great. We are gonna do this.
If there's a determination or a value that
shit. Yes. Exploration is the greatest path to scientific understanding.
That would count.
Great, thank God. So then I would like to use that. Okay. Yes, a 6 and a 2, motherfuckers. But it's a science, so like that's technically only 3, but then like the auto crit with the value. So we're good. We're doing good.
So Lacat, it comes rushing onto you because in your study, your xenobiology is what you do. And one of the things you studied at the Academy were all of the unique, incredible things that Starfleet has managed to discover in all of its times and try to compare it to the things like this that have never been discovered. Wait, no, this has been discovered. And it starts rushing back to you immediately. Lessons that you've learned, particularly lessons that you were intrigued by when you were growing up in the Academy, learning about exploration. There is no vessel in Starfleet's history that's had a greater stretch of exploration across the swath of the galaxy than the USS Voyager. And it starts to occur to you in that fragile moment that you were floating in what is known as fluidic space, and you were looking up at a vessel that belongs to a species that the Borg designated as one of the most dangerous species it ever encountered, species 8472. And you freeze as you're staring up at this thing, realizing you are no longer in your universe. And the ship begins to pivot towards you. And that, my friends, is where we have to pause.
Pull the cable!
I just Googled, so I'm not a Star Trek person, I'm like new to the fandom, so I Googled 8472, and I just want to say on Memory Alpha, the quote is, "The weak will perish." So that's great. Can't wait till you're fine.
Was the first thing the Undine ever said to the Federation. There's more to that story, though. There's a lot more to that story. So.
It's a good thing I ain't weak, motherfucker. Let's go.
The cat's like, bring it on! I'm telling you motherfuckers down right now.
I couldn't possibly have 2 better people with me to do this. Ensign Darn and Cat, no weakness.
Yeah.
Before we call it quits tonight, I want to immediately, and I'm sure you all agree, I think McCrell deserves an arc milestone tonight.
Absolutely.
Because McCrell, your role and what you pulled off tonight is going to save the lives of every colonist on that planet.
Yeah, but am I killing the spores? I gotta make sure.
In fact, you will learn more about that the next time. Unfortunately, and I'm so sorry to do this to you guys because of the schedule that we've come up with, it's going to be a spell before we jump back into the next episode of the main campaign. So
I'd like to roll for insight on that remorse.
That'll do it for us for tonight, y'all. Next week's going to be a very exciting week as we jump into the fulfillment for the fundraiser that we had. Again, next Monday night is Blood of the Void, so make sure to tune in for that because Lisa Pearl and the crew of the Borku have got some stuff going on that I think y'all are going to enjoy. And then on April 5th, we have our Mirror Universe episode, which is going to be pretty messed up, I'm sure.
I can't wait.
April 12th is going to be Rave's Bachelorette game. Can we announce who's confirmed for that game yet?
Okay, so we can announce the one person who is confirmed and the two people who are tentatively confirmed.
Okay.
So obviously Sam Delev has said they will be at the table, which I'm very excited for.
Your rose or die. I don't know how
believe-
Bachelorette works, but that's, I think.
Gina DeVivo, I believe, will be at the table as well, which I'm very excited about. Bonnie, if she's in town.
Why the one Monday?
Jackson Lansing, who I watch Bachelorette with occasionally, or at least we're on the same text thread. It's wonderful. But
Jackson
also,
Lansing.
two of my best friends will be joining us as well, tentatively. We got a little asterisk in the corner for them, but Anne Mortison Agnew, if you are familiar with her, she wrote on Vast, if you're familiar with that show, that little show. And then also Alexandra Klimovich, who is Jackson's wonderful wife, but also one of my best friends in the whole wide world, will be joining us. So I'm very excited. It's gonna be a packed table. And it's gonna be real weird, y'all. But yeah, excited.
We'll fit it out very quickly, don't worry.
Yay!
So that's April 12th. April 19th will be Gina's Crafting Corner. We'll come up with a name for it. Or we can use Gina's Crafting Corner. It should just be called Gina.
I don't mind.
It should just be called Gina, like
Come
the sitcom.
on,
Gina.
really, it's come watch us craft while you do something
In
else
the
in the background with us.
Yeah. Then Bonnie
Just
and
come
the Alice in
hang
Wonderland. Yeah, just come hang out. Bunny and the Alice in Wonderland's on May 3rd, and then the Time Kids is May 10th. So lots of stuff coming up, y'all. Thank you, as always, for your continued support. I'm really excited about getting into these fulfillments. We love you guys so much. Thank you, Ox crew. Thank you to our champions who were able to help out tonight and help our crew unravel some of these mysteries. We will see you on the next time. Stay tuned this coming Monday for Blood of the Void. And until then, my good friends, hailing frequencies are closed.